dokie, let's get into it. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Sunday morning live stream for Week 9 of the 2024 fantasy football season. Over the course of the next 3 hours plus, we're answering any and all questions regarding Week 9 starting lineups. Of course, there's many games ahead in Week 9's overall slate, and we still have a lot to decide. Now, there are still a couple players here and there that we're still not 100% sure whether or not they're going to play, but as the next coming hours kind of pass on, we'll get more and more information regarding these players. It'll make everything a little bit more clear. Outside of the overall kind of players here and there that we're uncertain of, I mean, again, the vast majority of them, we've gotten an indication as to whether or not they're going to play, like a Tony Pollard and Puka Nacua, both those players who were, again, fringe potentially not going to play over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours, but we've been given information that keeps me at least confident enough to fire them up going into my lineup this week. Now, I've adjusted their rankings accordingly, moved them down a little bit here and there. I've also taken into account a couple of the weather situations going into today, even though I'm not a real weather guy. In a lot of the situations, I'm typically kind of very slow to move player rankings because of that. I've kind of adjusted quarterback rankings today in that Green Bay game, taking on the Detroit Lions. Again, it's expected to be a rain game for the entirety from start to finish. Now, I guarantee you, now that I've mentioned this, it will not rain a single drop, but from everything that I've seen, I'm assuming it's going to rain pretty heavy there. Outside of that, again, for those of you guys who are members of the Patreon or have signed up using code Andrew via Underdog over the course of the last couple months here, again, check out the rankings. Those are posted earlier this morning, whether it was the Underdog signup that was sent to your email earlier this morning. Check your spam folder and your primary email that is associated with the Underdog account. And then as for those of you who are members of the Patreon, just check out the Patreon account. I posted those rankings this morning in regards to half PPR, full PPR, all-encompassing rankings, ready to go. Thank you very much. Outside of that, again, rankings right here on screen are updated as of this morning. So these do not include players from Thursday night's game. They are just primary players for whatever is left remaining in Week 9 in order to help us capture a victory within the given week. Outside of that, let's get into answering questions, shall we? Chris All In begins the day with the first question. It says, in a full PPR, we need 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. We have Jefferson, Sutton, Flowers, Addison, Jalen Coker, Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, ETN, Bigsby, or Chestnut. Okay, so again, the expectation is that Tony Pollard is going to play. They didn't deem him out already, just like they did, of course, Tyjae Spears earlier in the week, because there is an assumption and there is an optimism that he is going to play. So if in fact he does get fired up, we have no interest in playing Chestnut outside of him being a low-end RB3 in a desperate situation. But as for your lineup, I mean, again, you've got studs across the board. The way that I'd go about it, Chris, all in, I'd play Jefferson alongside of Sutton as your 2 primary wide receivers. I'd play Montgomery next to Kareem Hunt as your 2 starting running backs. And I will play Zay Flowers as your flex. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Moving on to Luke, who sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR start 3 situation, we have Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, DJ Moore, and Chase Brown. In a half PPR going into the week, I would start Chase Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Smith. Those would be my 3 preferred. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. Flotation says, final line, Leggett expected to play. Sent it on Twitter. Okay, let me go ahead and let me check the Twitter real quick. All right, what do we have here? So in terms of the players that I've got ranked in comparison to where... Okay, let's see your lineup here. Okay, so let's see what you have. You have Lockett there. You have Mooney. You have Leggett. Yeah, you're good to go. I mean, as of right now, Leggett is my 33. Amari Cooper sits at 36. Where is Lockett on my... I have Lockett at 31. Yeah, the way that you have your lineup set, Flotation, is the correct way to go about it. I wouldn't change anything henceforth. You're pretty much locked in, especially with Leggett taking on a secondary that is missing 4 starters. The New Orleans Saints are going to have their hands full today. Their secondary and their defense isn't going to be as fine-tuned and sharp as they typically are. We should see a lot of success from Leggett, Coker, hopefully later today. Thank you, Flotation. Appreciate it. Moving on to a question that comes in from Ocho, who says, in a half PPR, start 1 flex between BTJ, Mooney, and Harrison. I prefer, in a half PPR, I believe I have Marvin Harrison ahead of BTJ and Mooney. Yep, I do. That's the direction I go in. If you are worried in any sort of situation regarding the matchup against the... Okay, so this is what I will say. If we get a 100% confirmation that Gabe Davis is out, I will play BTJ there over Marvin Harrison. But that is once we get that confirmation. Obviously, the reports that came out last night and early this morning was that there isn't much optimism regarding Gabe Davis being active. If he is not active and there's no Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis in the same week, I'd rather have BTJ in this circumstance, Ocho. So keep an eye on that. If we get a confirmation there, then you'll play BTJ. Otherwise, I prefer to play Marvin Harrison. Thank you. Dylan sends in a question. Says PPR Swift, BTJ, Pollard, pick 2. Scared of them being limited. I understand. I mean, look, again, there's a lot of inherent risk with all of these potential factors. But yeah, if I was picking 2 of the 3, let's see here. Where do I have Swift in comparison to like a BTJ in my full PPR? So as of right now, the way that I'd probably approach this, if I was in your situation, Dylan, I'd play both the running backs. I'd play Swift against Arizona, and I'd play Pollard versus the New England Patriots. Again, if Pollard is active today, which I'm expecting him to be, he would be the preferred alongside of Swift in this situation. Swift, who's coming off of, in a full PPR, 4 consecutive weeks of over 20 fantasy points. So you kind of have to roll him out there. He's just been far too relevant as of late. But yeah, those are the 2 that I'd prefer. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Daniel Gonzalez. Thank you, Daniel. It says, good morning. So we need to pick 3 between Marvin Harrison, Devontae Smith, BTJ Sutton, or Jacoby Myers. Okay, so answering the first question, I don't know what your scoring format is. Let's say, for example, you do, because the rankings on screen are 4.5 PPR, Daniel, so I'd assume that you've seen those in terms of answering the question. Now, let's say, for example, you were in a full PPR, how I would adjust these overall rankings. The primaries that I'd go with, I don't think really variably change much. Let me see where I have Sutton in comparison. Yeah, the variable change isn't great to the extent to where I'm still probably going to play Daniel, Devontae Smith, BTJ, Marvin Harrison as the primary 3 factors here. I'd consider to play Sutton over Marvin Harrison. They are back-to-back ranked in a full PPR and in relatively close in a half PPR, but I'm still comfortable with the idea of Smith, Harrison, and BTJ in this situation, Daniel. Now, as for your second question, would you accept CeeDee Lamb and Joe Mixon for Bijan Robinson and BTJ? My answer would be absolutely yes. I would take Lamb and Joe Mixon in a heartbeat in that situation. Thank you. Moving on to a question. Let's see here. If my YouTube doesn't crash, I think it's about to crash. I need to refresh the page really quickly. Okay, there we go. All right, moving on to the next question. We had Ocho with a follow-up. That said, in a half PPR, start one wide receiver and 1 flex between Downs, Mooney, and Tracy. In a half PPR, I would start Tracy and I would start Downs. Those are the 2 that I prefer as your wide receiver and your flex this week. Thank you. Ryan sends in a question. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan says in a PPR, pick 3. Let me actually scroll up and see if I can find it in the chat. No, I can't. Okay. Pick 3. May, BTJ, J.K. Dobbins, Taysom Hill, Tillman, Mostert, and Coker. Okay, understood. Also, okay, so let's answer this first question. In a full PPR, the way that I go about it, I'd still probably play Drake May out of this group. Even though the full PPR format, I would prefer to play Drake May, BTJ, and J.K. Dobbins. Well, you know what? Let me see where I have J.K. Dobbins in comparison to Tillman. And then we can kind of figure it out. Yeah, they're relatively close within the overall ranking. You know what? Now that I think about it, yeah, I do expect that if Drake May is going to get the start, he should at least score 1 touchdown. But is he going to be relevant enough to be able to outscore one of these receivers in a full PPR? I mean, if he can score more than 13 points I'd assume that he could. I think there's a little bit of inherent risk in that. If you want to play it safe, Ryan, I think the way you probably go is BTJ, Tillman, and J.K. Dobbins. If you want the potential for additional upside, I think it's probably just going May, BTJ, and J.K. Dobbins. But I think the safe play is probably just going with the wide receiver just to make sure that you don't have any, quarterback disaster where Drake May shows up and unfortunately throws multiple interceptions or something of that extent to where a lot of turnovers, specifically spill through from the rookie quarterback, which hopefully isn't going to be the case, but I don't have him relatively highly ranked anyway, so that's why I'm kind of leaning in the direction of the receivers / running backs within your flex positions there, Ryan. Thank you. As for your next question, also, I have both Mason and Garendo drop either for Herbert or Keaton Mitchell. As of right now, look, I've mentioned this over the course of this week, and I'll continue to say it. I have a very hard time thinking that for the remainder of the season, I'm ever going to play Mason again. Considering his shoulder situation and the fact that he always has the ability to leave a game at any given moment because of a re-aggravation of that injury, it leads me to believe that Mason is someone that you could have on roster. You can keep him there, but it would be very difficult to start him. Like if this upcoming week, They said Christian McCaffrey's not going. I'm not starting Mason in a top 24 capacity. I can't do it. I think there's too much inherent risk with the ability of him getting hit once to leave the game and not return, just like he's done against Seattle and most recently against the Dallas Cowboys. So yeah, I'd be willing to drop him. As for who between the two, I mean, I'm okay with the idea of going after Herbert, but it just depends on where he lands. Like Deontay Johnson going to the Ravens does not help him very much. Herbert going to a team that already has an established RB1 does not help him very much. So it just depends on where he lands. Rob P sends in a question. Thank you, Rob. Rob says in a full PPR, Kyler Murray, or we have Bo Nix. Okay, so between the two of them, as of right now, if you're playing in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, I'd probably just default to playing Kyler Murray because I think it's a little bit safer. But in a 4-point, with all of the upside that specifically Bo Nix gets in the rushing game, that is why I have him so highly ranked. On top of the fact that he takes on the Baltimore secondary that has played horribly this season. Every single team over the course of the last month plus has torched that secondary in terms of yardage. So I would assume that, Sean Payton has done enough to prepare Bo Nix to have himself another one of these solid weeks and a great fantasy performance. He's not the greatest overall quarterback, but he is a fantastic fantasy quarterback as of late. Thank you. Eric Sanchez sends in a question, says, should I drop McMillan for Pearsall or Jennings? I'd be willing to drop him for Jennings. That's fine by me. Thank you. And you can throw Jennings into your IR spot right now because he's still designated out. Somebody in the live chat, Matthew, had said, why did you drop the Saints ranking so low? Yeah, so as of this week, the Saints secondary is missing all of their starters outside of their safety. So their 3 starting cornerbacks and a backup are gone. So 4 cornerbacks are not playing in this specific week. Considering their 2 primary cornerbacks and one of their backups and their nickel cornerback is also out, it doesn't seem like they are going to be prepared with backups to be able to stop even Carolina's offense because really they're undermanned in this scenario. All right, let's see. And not only, the Saints have been better in terms of stopping the pass, but they already can't stop the run. That has been designated over the course of the entire season. So I don't expect them to be able to stop Chuba Hubbard now. That their secondary is in trouble, the play action will open up, but then running the ball down their throat was never going to be an issue in the first place. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more context as to why I've lowered their ranking considerably. All right, HCF sends in a question. Says, in a 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex league, I've already got Garrett Wilson that played as my wide receiver 1. I have Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Tank Bigsby, Tracy McConkey, Reed, Neighbors, and Kupp. What do I go with? All right, cool. So, of the available, not sure what your scoring format is. Obviously, that is excluded within the question. Again, if you guys are going to send in a question, please include your scoring format. That is desperately necessary. But in this scenario, I'm just going to, across the board, assume what your scoring format is. And this is what I'm going to suggest, HC. Jonathan Taylor has to play as your RB1. Alongside of that, I'm playing Tracy as your RB2. As for your wide receiver 2 and your flex, I'm playing both Kupp and Neighbors there. That's the way that I'd go about it. Thank you very much, HC. We move on to a question from John S. John says the following. Let's go ahead. Let me open up a different link here so I can maybe not have to crank my head around just so I can maybe see these questions a little bit clearly. All right, let's open up this. And there we are. Okay. John S. says the following. In a full PPR, drop D-Hop, Evan Ingram, Hawkinson, Deontay Johnson, or Reed in the flex. Not drop. It just says D-Hop. Sorry. Okay, so as of those available options, let me see where I have. I know what I have ranked the highest. Evan Ingram's my play there. John S. Thank you. Shane sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR flex, Tracy or BTJ? All right, let's see where I have them ranked accordingly. Full PPR. Let's look up Brian Thomas. Currently, I do, in fact, have Brian Thomas ahead of Tracy, but I have him over him by 5 different spots. It's a 5 ranking differential. They are in different tiers, so I would just outright play BTJ. If we got Gabe Davis to be out, as a confirmation, I'd be even more confident in the situation. But even without that information, I'm still going to play him over Tracy in the circumstance in a full PPR against the Eagles. Thank you. And then as for your next question, Bills or Steelers rest of season? Looking at the Bills schedule here just real quick, because I don't love the schedule for the Steelers going forward. And the Bills are a plus 11 team in terms of, I think they've cost 14 turnovers. They're in the top 5 in that overall category. Pretty good so far this season. I'm looking at the Bills schedule. I don't like it either. They have to take on Kansas City, San Francisco, the Rams, the Lions. Those are not great weeks. Week 16, 17 against the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. I think those are great matchups, but the road ahead going into those matchups is a little bit of a nightmare in my mind. So I'd probably just stick with the Steelers situation there. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question that comes in from Rob P. Okay, no, we took care of Rob P. Moving on to, where are we at? We took care of John S. in that scenario. Okay, we have to scroll up. I'm scrolling down like an idiot. Okay, Christian Jackson, 3524, sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, start 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers and 2 flex. We have Achane Gibbs, Chase, London, Puka, BTJ, Chase Brown, Hubbard, Amari, Cooper, Reed, Flowers, and Waddle. Okay, so you've got an army here for me to try to figure out. Okay, so as of the 6 players that we're going to start in a full PPR, the running backs I think are very easy to figure out. I mean, obviously Gibbs and Achane are fantastic, so those are going to be your 2 starting running backs. As for your wide receivers, I think Chase and London pretty much take the cake there. As for your 2 flex options, it's going to be Puka Nacua and Chase Brown. Those are the 2 that I prefer as the flex, and that's the suggestion I'm going to make in this circumstance. Christian Jackson, thank you. Dorsey, 5001, says in a question, says, good morning, Andrew. In a full PPR, Chase Brown or Ladd McConkey? I'd rather play Chase Brown this week. Thank you. James King sends in a question, says, in a flex full PPR, Reed, Tracy, or BTJ? In a full PPR, let me see. Yeah, I have BTJ, like I was mentioning earlier, ahead of Tracy, and I have Tracy ahead of Reed. So that would be the order. BTJ, Tracy, Reed. If you can only start one, BTJ is the suggestion. Thank you. Flawless sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, we have Ladd McConkey and J.K. Dobbins. Okay, so in a full PPR between those 2, let's pull up the rankings. Let's look up where Ladd is in long term. I still have J.K. Dobbins ahead of him. I have him ahead of him by 2 spots. J.K. Dobbins, my 53. Ladd McConkey, my 55. They're both in the same tier, so I could justify playing one over the other, but I will play J.K. Dobbins there, or that at least will be my primary suggestion to you as of this week. Now, as for the next question, half PPR, Ridley, Bigsby, or Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson isn't going to play more than, or he isn't going to run more than maybe like 12 to 15 routes today. Don't expect him to do much. Do not start him this week. As for the next question between Ridley and Bigsby, with ETN expected to suit up this week and play, I'm going to lean towards playing Ridley with Mason Rudolph as a starting quarterback of the Titans. So I will play Ridley there. Thank you, Flawless. Andrew sends in a question. Says, good morning. In a full PPR, JSN or Ladd McConkey? Great question. Let's see here. In a full PPR, Ladd McConkey's there. I still have him ahead of JSN. They're 2 rankings separating each other, but I will play Ladd McConkey in that scenario going into the week. Without Noah Fant and DK Metcalf, JSN is a solid play. I just think that the Rams secondary is a lot better than people probably give them credit for. Early in the season, they were not great. As of late, they have been significantly a better option. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next question. We have one that comes in from Akuma187, who says, good morning, Andrew. Questions in the chat. All right, Akuma, I'm going to hope that it's still in the chat because I'm sure you sent that in a little while ago. All right, I see it, Akuma. Thank you. Says, good morning, Andrew. I'm a little bit nervous about starting Brian Robinson Jr. Would you start any of the following ahead of him out of Dowdle, Waddle, Njoku, or Lockett? Thanks, man. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to check my full PPR rankings just to see where I have Njoku in comparison to him. So even in a full PPR, I have Brian Robinson Jr. quite literally 1 spot ahead of David Njoku. I have number 42, Brian Robinson Jr., 43, David Njoku. Now, they are in the same tier, so I could justify playing Njoku ahead of him. If you're nervous about it, that could be a play in which you go about. But I wouldn't really be too nervous about it. He's been questionable for the last, 4 consecutive weeks with that injury. It's nothing that really should make us feel less confident starting him, especially considering when we look at this run stop defense for the Giants, they have given up over 100 rushing yards to each of the last 2 running backs they've taken on. Earlier this year, Brian Robinson ran through them for $133. It should be a pretty solid performance. Now, obviously, the real question is Brian Robinson going to find the end zone? If he does, obviously, his upside is, potentially 20 points in a full PPR, while, the baseline of production where we're kind of expecting him to end up is like 70 yards and a touchdown, which is a solid 13 points. Maybe he gets himself some receiving utilization, etc. But if he gets to break over 100 yards, I mean, the upside that he could potentially present there would be pretty nice. But yeah, if you're nervous about it, play Njoku. Again, I have them literally back-to-back ranked, so their overall projections are nearly identical as of right now. Thank you, Kuma. Alex Songrass sends in a question. Thank you, Alex. Alex says, in a standard league, we have Josh Jacobs and Brian Robinson Jr. Very well. Out of those 2, I'm going to play Josh Jacobs between the 2 of them. The next question, 6-point per passing touchdown league, Mahomes or Darnold? Honestly, I have them both in the same tier. In a 6-point per passing touchdown league, I think they're both highly relevant and just as good as one another. The one that I prefer over the other as of right now, I prefer to play Mahomes against that Tampa Bay secondary. Everyone has dominated against them. Indianapolis's defense isn't great either. So Darnold should have himself a little bit of a resurgence of a week here. Obviously, last week against the Rams had himself a lesser performance than we typically see, even though he still had a 2-touchdown week. But with Hawkinson coming back, that is great for him, but I'm still going to lean in the direction of Mahomes in this circumstance. Now, as for your next question, thoughts on the Bills defense over the Patriots? My other defense is the Broncos. Thoughts on Bills defense over Patriots? Yeah, I mean, look, as of right now, the last time out that we saw the Bills take on the Miami Dolphins, which is week 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken. Like Tua had 3 interceptions before he got concussed. Like this defense for the Bills, they're just going to literally sit in a 2-high shell the entire game, and they're going to lock up Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, which again, Jalen Waddle hasn't had more than 4 receptions in a game against the Bills in his entire career, or at least the last 3 seasons. He hasn't had more than 4 receptions. I don't think Tyreek Hill's gone over 82 receiving yards against them since joining the Dolphins. Like they've done a really good job, Sean McDermott in that defense, in terms of locking down wide receivers. So unless the running game is going to completely decimate the Bills, I think they're a really good start, and I think they're probably going to force a couple turnovers. Again, they're top 5 in terms of turnovers forced this season. So they're implicated enough to be a solid overall play in comparison to the Patriots defense, where again I think they're a solid play. I just always get scared with these really bad teams. Like if the offense does them no favors, and the Tennessee Titans are able to move the ball just like they were last week against the Lions, that kind of implies a little bit of fear in my mind. But yeah, I'll go with the Bills there. Thank you. Ibrahim says Hopkins or Dobbs as of right now in a full PPR. Where do we have it? Let's see here. In a full PPR, I still do, in fact, as of right now, I have DeAndre Hopkins as my number 30 and Romeo Dobbs as my 32 in a full PPR. So DeAndre Hopkins would be the suggestion there. Ibrahim, thank you. All right, let's see here. Agro sends in a question. The Agro1234 says actually, this is just a defensive question. Minnesota or Los Angeles defense? I'd rather play the Chargers this week. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to Steven Drakes, who says, good morning. Would you play Jalen Coker or McMillan? I'd rather play Jalen Coker today. As to your next question, also Hunt or Chuba Hubbard? I prefer to play Chuba Hubbard. So yeah, basically we're starting 2 Carolina Panthers within the given week. Thank you. Brian Rodriguez sends in a question, says Zay Flowers, Chuba Hubbard, or Jaden Reed? Let me see where I have Hubbard in comparison to Flowers in a full PPR. Hubbard is ahead of Flowers, so that's who I would play. So it'd go Hubbard 1, Flowers 2, and Reed 3 in that exact order. Brian Rodriguez, thank you very much. Tim Schwartz sends in a question, says in a standard league, trade Metcalf for Josh Downs. I would probably say no. In a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, that's really the bread and butter of Josh Downs. The fact that over the course of the last 3 games that he has played with Joe Flacco, he has had himself, 6, 7, 8 receptions in each of those games. Like that is really the primary value that you get as a baseline for Josh Downs, which makes him so valuable. In the absence of that, I'd rather have Metcalf because of the yardage counts and the touchdown upside that is implicated. Thank you. Moving on to a question from John Smith, who says, Cousins or Stafford, sir? Thank you. Between the two of them, again, I'd probably just rather play Cousins. It's implicated to be the highest scoring game. Dallas' defense is in shambles with all the injuries that they've had to go ahead and deal with over the course of the last month, and they continue to build up as we go into this upcoming Sunday's game. And then we have Stafford, who's playing against Seattle, which I believe is a great matchup for him, but the weather there is a little bit more sketchy, and I still don't know what the full kind of outcome of Puka Nacua will end up being, to where I just rather lean in the direction of Cousins and just play him in the great matchup against Dallas. Thank you. All right, let's see here. I got to refresh the page here just so I can catch up on some of these questions. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. I appreciate y'all continuing to support the channel. Again, if you have not yet already, do me a favor, click the like button down below. Like I mentioned earlier, again, the rankings on screen to the right side as they filter through are updated as of this morning. So my top 36 running backs for a half PPR, top 36 wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks and tight ends for a 4-point per passing touchdown, half PPR, and then, of course, the top 12 kickers and defenses for a standard scoring league in regards to these overall positions available here. If you have any questions in regards to interpositional rankings, hopefully the rankings on screen will answer that. Now, if they don't, again, for those of you who are members of the Patreon, the rankings have been posted for both half PPR and full PPR, all encompassing on the front page of the Patreon. And again, if those of you who signed up via Underdog as of August 1st to as of yesterday, using code Andrew, making that first time deposit minimum of $10, you have gotten the email in your email earlier today in regards to whatever email is associated with the Underdog account. Thank you. All right, let's continue on here with the next questions on hand. Let's scroll up a little bit to go catch all these. All right. We took care of that one. Now I need to go and find the rest. All right, so after John S., we had Tony R. 481 who sent in a question, but there was nothing attached to it. Tony R., are you in the chat? Tony R. says, in a full PPR, Knicks or Love? Yeah, as of right now, I'd rather play Bo Nix. Next question, pick one. Waddle, Flowers, Hopkins, Cooper. Between those four, I'd play Flowers. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to the next question. We have Big Dog Pound, who says, in a full PPR, start one wide receiver, tight end, flex, Marvin Harrison, Pittman Jr., McBride, Laporta, Tracy, Bigsby, Deontay Johnson. Okay, so as of those available, the preferred would be to play Marvin Harrison alongside of McBride as your wide receiver, tight end. Now, as for your flex, let me see where I have Michael Pittman Jr. in comparison to Tracy. As of right now, I would play Tracy in a full PPR. So the way that I go about it would be Marvin Harrison 1, McBride as your tight end, and then Tracy as your flex. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to a question that comes in from Doug Lamb. Thank you, Doug. Doug says in a full PPR, pick two between Hunt, Montgomery, and Brian Robinson Jr. In a full PPR, let's see how I have them ranked. Scroll over here. Brian Robinson and David Montgomery are my two highest ranked out of the three. But right after them, literally, it goes Brian Robinson, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt third. So really, I don't think you have a wrong answer in this situation, but those are my two preferred, Montgomery and Brian Robinson. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So somebody in the chat, like Grit, asked, why are you so low on Jaden Reed? It's just the weather, purely. The weather in Green Bay is expected to be raining from kickoff to the close of the game. The entirety of it should be a rainbow of just epic proportions. Doesn't mean that the passing game is going to be irrelevant. Doesn't mean that there are going to be significantly lesser options, but I just don't want to trust it at the moment. Now, again, by the time we get to the kickoff at 1 p.m. PST, I guarantee you there will be zero rain. And at that point, I'll regret making these statements, but that is the risk you have to take with trying to kind of somehow guess the weather at the exact moment that the game takes place. So we'll have to wait and see how that transpires. But that is the primary reason why guys like Goff and Love sit where they're at. Kraft, Laporta, Dobbs, and Reed. As for players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, yes, he's a wide receiver, but he's a player that you have to blindly start because of the status of the player. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Nelson Weston, who says, in a one quarterback, one running back, one tight end, one wide receiver, two flex league, we have a full PPR of Mahomes, Bo Nix, Hopkins, Mooney, Njoku, Bigsby, Chase Brown, Hopkins, which you mentioned again, okay, Eckler, and Hunt. Okay, so as of these available options, Nelson, I'm playing Mahomes at quarterback. As your RB1, I'm going to play Chase Brown. As your tight end 1, I am playing David Njoku. As your wide receiver 1, let's see here, you have Hopkins, Mooney, Bigsby. Okay, yeah, so then you'd play Mooney as your wide receiver 1, and then within your two flex options, you play Kareem Hunt, and you play Hopkins. So from the top to the bottom, you go Mahomes, Chase Brown, Njoku, Mooney, Hunt, Hopkins. Thank you, Nelson. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Thurl Die sends in a question. Says, should I stick with Marvin Harrison as my wide receiver 2 and Chase Brown as my flex? Okay, let's see here. I have CeeDee Lamb, Kyren Williams, and Sam Darnold starting. Ladd and Shakir are on the bench. Yeah, I'd keep it as is. I wouldn't change anything. You're good to go there. Thurl Die. Thank you. John D sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, pick one between Travis Etienne, Rico Dowdle, or Jalen Coker. Okay, as of all three of those options, my preferred would be playing Rico Dowdle number 1, Jalen Coker number 2, and Travis Etienne number 3. That would be the order in which I progress. So Rico Dowdle would be the immediate start in my mind. Now, as for your second question, Minnesota or the Saints defense, yeah, Minnesota or Saints. Second question, Eagles or Cincy. Got it. Yeah, again, the rankings on screen is the way that I'm going to suggest it. I wouldn't change it any other way. So as of right now, Minnesota looking at number 6, that's who I would play over the New Orleans defense. Now, as for the Eagles versus Cincinnati, again, I have the Eagles at number 5 and Cincinnati at 7. So that's the way that I go about it, John. Thank you. Robert Litz sends in a question. It says, in a full PPR, one flex league, Pollard or DJ Moore, I'd rather play Pollard. Thank you. Luke C sends in a question. Says, in a PPR, I have Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, Ladd McConkey, Tillman, Amari Cooper, and Pearsall at wide receiver, Brian Robinson, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Ty Chandler at running back. Should I drop Pearsall for Ray Davis? I mean, look, the fact that you don't have James Cook doesn't make me feel like super enticed on the idea of picking up Ray Davis? You said Ty and Ray would be my lottery tickets. Yeah, I mean, I get it. In terms of the wide receiver depth that you have on roster, I don't think you need to have Pearsall there. Unless, again, yeah, you don't need to have Pearsall. So if you want to pick up Ray Davis, you certainly can. Again, he is purely just that, a lottery ticket. You will never start him for the remainder of the season unless an injury was to occur, Luke. Thank you. Shubes sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, pick 2 between Bijan, Achane, Amon-Ra, and James Cook. Out of all those options, my 2 favorite in a full PPR would be Bijan Robinson and Devon Achane. Third would be James Cook. Fourth would be Amon-Ra. Thank you. Jose Rodriguez sends in a question. Says, I'm a bit worried. I have Laporta and my opponent has Njoku/Bauer starting. Should I trust him or try to make a quick trade for a better tight end? I mean, look, if you're going to make a quick trade for a better tight end, you'd have to go after like a Trey McBride or something of that exchange, right? If you can, I mean, you can. I don't know if that's the best decision for the long term, depending on what you have to give up in order to acquire that. But I mean, if you think you can make a trade of that caliber quickly, then sure. I don't have any issue with the idea of trading for a Kelsey or a McBride in order to improve your tight end position. As long as you are not giving up too much to where, you're getting fleeced in the trade, I'm all for it. Why not? All right, let's see here. We had a question after that comes in from, let's scroll back up here. Okay, we have Jose Rodriguez who says, so we took care of that one. Again, Jose, if you can make a quick trade, why not? But if not, I don't think Laporta is a bad play at all today. So Ziggy sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, pick 3. We have Tony Pollard, Brian Thomas Jr., Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed. Yeah, the 3 that I would play would be the 3 that you mentioned first and foremost. Pollard, BTJ, and Zay Flowers. Thank you. Jacob sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR flex, Wan'Dale Robinson, Xavier Legette, or Coker. I'm going to play Legette there. Thank you. Moving on to Alex D, who says, in a half PPR, pick 2 flex from Mostert, White, and Keon Coleman. Yeah, that would be my suggestion would be playing Rashad White and Keon Coleman. I am benching Mostert today. Thank you. Vic84 says, in a full PPR, 1 flex, Pollard, Connor, Laporta, Tillman, Pittman. Out of those available, Pollard will be the start. If he is inactive, then you would pivot to playing Pittman. Thank you. Luke C sends in a question as a follow-up. Says, PPR, DeAndre Hopkins, H. Hen, and spot start Gesicki. I have Andrews. Sorry. It says drop H. Hen. Wait. It doesn't even say D-Hop. I don't know why D-Hop and drop are just like blending together. My dyslexia is at an all-time high right now. Okay. It says PPR drop H. Hen and start Gesicki. Okay. Spot start Gesicki. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the idea of dropping Hunter Henry. Just understand that if you drop Hunter Henry, he is the more valuable piece for the long term. Gesicki is just a 1-week thing in the absence of Zach Moss and, of course, mainly T. Higgins. I definitely prefer to play Gesicki this week to where in a full PPR, yes, I do have him ranked higher, if I'm not mistaken, than Mark Andrews. Let me check. In a full PPR, I have him ahead of Mark Andrews. So, yeah, I mean, in your circumstance, yes, I would drop Henry and I'd pick up Gesicki and I'd start him in the given week. Thank you. All right, let's see. We had a question that came in from Dave C, who says, in a full PPR, pick 4 between Aaron Jones, Kyron Williams, Kareem Hunt, Irving, and David Montgomery. Okay, if I'm picking 4 of these players, Kyron Williams number 1, Aaron Jones number 2, David Montgomery 3, and Kareem Hunt 4. Very easily, I'm not playing Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving sits on the bench because the rest of the options are just superior. Ashley sends in a question, says, I need a wide receiver and a flex in a full PPR. We have Puka Nacua, BTJ, McLaurin, Achane, and Olave. Okay, you've got plenty of good options. I think this is a blessing and a curse at the same time, unfortunately. Okay, let me look at these names. Let me copy them really quickly and drop them here. Okay, so really quickly. Why did I feel like I skipped questions? Maybe I did. Okay, if there's someone's question that I've skipped that was earlier on, I'm going to go check them all right now just to make sure because I'm pretty sure I skipped a question, but we'll get to that in a second here. In terms of full PPR rankings, okay, so under the assumption that Puka Nacua is active, okay, the way that I would go about this is, let me see, where do I have Achane in comparison? Okay, cool. Okay, so then it's just a matter of how many can we start? All right, let me scroll back down here. It's just 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. Okay, so if Puka's starting, he would be the wide receiver. In the flex, let me see where I have Achane in comparison to McLaurin. Aichan. Yeah, so as of right now, it would be Puka and Aichan. Those would be my two starts as of today. If you're worried about Puka, you could pivot to playing McLaurin. You could pivot to playing Olave. Both of them are incredible options, but those would be the two that I prefer. Thank you. All right, let me go ahead. Let me travel back here. Let me make sure I didn't skip anybody's question because that would be unfortunate. Let's scroll all the way down here really quickly. So in terms of week 9's, okay, so we took care, okay, Ocho, yep. Okay, so the one that I'm thinking I'm missing is Joel Garza, which I didn't answer, and I do have the question because I specifically remember copying and pasting it, and I have it here. Joel Garza, I believe I skipped your question. If I did, here's the answer. So the question was, good morning, Andrew. Start 2 in a full PPR. We have JSN, we have Jaden Reed, we have Rashad White, we have Josh Downs, we have Cedric Tillman. Okay, so in that circumstance, Josh Downs is the automatic number 1. As for the number 2 next to him, let me see if I'm playing Reed, JSN. Okay, let's see where these wide receivers stack up accordingly in a full PPR. Okay, so JSN is there. Tillman's there, Reed is there. Okay, so the way that I go about it in a full PPR as of right now, from the remaining options you have available, would be playing Cedric Tillman. So Joel Garza, if you can hear me, you're still there. Downs and Tillman would be my suggestion as of this week. Thank you. All right, so we took care of that one. So I believe now that is taken care of. I didn't skip anything else. Everything else kind of just, we took care of those. Great. All right, catching up slowly, but we're doing it. All right, so then we just took care of Ashley, and then now we're going to Alex D. Alex D says, who won? Brees Hall, Amon-Ra, Kelsey for Gibbs, JJ, and Ingram. In terms of the long-term kind of conversation, JJ's better than Amon-Ra. I think Gibbs could be argued to be better than Brees Hall. And Ingram is a little bit of a lesser option, but I think he is still going to be able to compete. I think the Gibbs and JJ side is the preferred rest of season. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. Austin H sends in a question. Austin says, in a full PPR, will I regret benching Jacobs for Kareem Hunt? I don't know if you'll regret it. No, I don't think so. Look, Kareem Hunt's a great play. So is Josh Jacobs. I think they're both going to be implicated for double-digit fantasy points to a point to where, again, it is purely just going to be the variables that we cannot control or we cannot foresee taking place that is going to lead to one of them scoring the additional touchdown or breaking out a bigger run or something of that exchange. So I don't think it's a major regret to be starting one over the other, etc. So, yeah, I think if you want to play Hunt, I have no issue with that at all. Thank you for the question. All right, let's see here. Did I just scroll all the way back up like an idiot? I think I did. Okay, then we move on to a question from Octavio. Thank you. It says start 2, D-Hop, Flowers, Marvin Harrison, Downs. Yeah, cool. As of those available, under the assumption that it's a half PPR, you have the rankings on screen. For a full PPR, the way that I'd go about it would be playing Josh Downs and Marvin Harrison. Actually, it's probably the same in a half PPR nonetheless. So those will be the two. Harrison and Downs. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question that comes in from Jose Rodriguez. Says, in a full PPR, Montgomery, Tracy, or Waddle? Between those three, I'm playing Tracy Jr. Thank you. Joe Schmo sends in a question. Says, Hurts, St. Brown, Devontae Smith, Achane, Swift, and Njoku, flex, Connor, Hubbard, or Tracy in a half PPR. Again, the half PPR rankings are on screen. If you just want to hear me say it, that's perfectly fine. I have no issue with it. Between the three that you've mentioned, as for your available options here, between Connor, Hubbard, Tracy, I have Hubbard 1, Connor 2, Tracy 3, half PPR. That's the way I go about it. Thank you, Joe Schmo. Moving on to Caleb Sanchez. Says, full PPR, Jacoby Myers, Ridley, or Kate Otten. In a full PPR, let me see where I have Jacoby in comparison. So in terms of wide receivers, Jacoby Myers is ahead of Calvin Ridley. Now let's see if I have him ahead of Kate Otten. So let's go Myers. And then, yeah, I do have him 3 spots ahead of Kate Otten, which is relatively close. But I would prefer to play Jacoby Myers in that circumstance. But if you want to play Otten, again, there are 4 ranks between the two. It's not a great enough distance to where I'm like, it's egregious to start one over the other, you know? So, yeah, I have no issue with that. Thank you. Moving on to the question that comes in from Paul Allen. Thank you, Paul. Paul says, I have to start 3 Packers. Kraft, okay, that's tough. Kraft, Wicks, and Watson. Should I bench one for Elijah Moore and Jalen Coker? Honestly, I would bench both those receivers for Elijah Moore and Jalen Coker today. I legitimately would rather, or I have them both higher ranked in half and full PPR, Elijah Moore and Coker over Wicks and Watson. So that's the way I'd go about it. If you want to just start one over, Watson, then yeah, I'd be willing to start Elijah Moore over him or Coker, either one at this point, just as long as you get some sort of variable changes there, because that's a little bit too much kind of single game dependency on a rain game, and they're not the number one options of those offenses, right? So it's a little bit tough in that scenario. But yeah, if you're willing to, I'd swap both the receivers for the two available that you have there. Philip Villanueva sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, flex Pittman or Stevenson? I'm going to play Pittman there in a full PPR. Thank you. All right, Sexy Pepsi 21 says, Dak or Baker? I prefer to play. Well, as of right now, I have Baker Mayfield ranked on screen. Dak Prescott is my number 17 overall quarterback of the remaining. So you could play Dak. I think he's got a solid matchup. In terms of the defenses against the Atlanta Falcons as of late, of course, everybody's played relatively well, 2+ touchdowns from all those conversations. The only thing that ever holds back Dak, less rushing upside, and additionally, unfortunately, turnovers. So if you'd rather play Dak, if you believe he is not going to turn over the ball today, even though he's coming off of, if I'm not mistaken, 3 consecutive weeks of 2 interceptions minimum, that is correct. He has thrown 2 interceptions in 3 consecutive games and has also thrown 2 interceptions in 4 of the last 6 games. That is the issue with Dak Prescott. Turnovers that kill us. In a -2 per interception league, it is disastrous in that scenario when you're only getting 4 points per touchdown. So I prefer to play Baker, but if you want, you can play Dak. I have no issue with that. Johnny Moss sends in a question. Thank you, Johnny. Says, in a full PPR, I need 2 between Brian Robinson, Reed, and BTJ. Yeah, I'm going to play Brian Robinson, and I'm going to play BTJ. Thank you. Real Eyes 00 says, I need 1 flex and a quarterback. We have Chubb or McConkey. Between the two of them, I'd rather play McConkey, especially if it's any sort of PPR format. Half, full, doesn't matter. Now, as for your next question, Winston or Geno, I'd rather play Winston today. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Travis, who says, Tracy, Brian Robinson, Hunt, Amari Cooper need an RB2 and 2 flex spots. So of the available that you have here, under the assumption, well, yeah, Amari Cooper, I'm not really too interested in playing in comparison to the rest of the group. So I'm just starting all 3 running backs. Tracy, Brian Robinson, and Hunt are my 3 suggestions there, Travis. Thank you. Joel Garza sent in a follow-up, said, full PPR, JSN, Reed, Tillman, Downs need to. Okay, yeah, sorry, Joel Garza. I probably had skipped your question. I definitely skipped your question earlier. We did end up getting back to it, but yeah, just to confirm again, Josh Downs and Tillman would be the suggestion there. All right, we had a question from JC Smith, who says, good morning. In a full PPR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, who should I start between Olave, Shakir, Tillman, Myers, and Dowdle? Okay, so of those available, the 2 wide receivers I would suggest you play would be Olave and Shakir. Olave, Myers, Shakir. Those would be the 3 that I play in a full PPR if it was my team. Olave and Myers would be your starting wide receiver 1 and 2. Shakir would be in the flex. Thank you. Now, we had questions from Christian Miller and Anonymous that didn't have anything attached to it, but I'm going to go ahead and look up these names. Christian Miller, and we had Anonymous. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see if we can find these in the live chat. All right, so Christian Miller, I do not see anything in the live chat from you. So if you could do me a favor and type in the live chat, it'd be greatly appreciated. Also, I'm going to look for Anonymous. Anonymous, you do the same. Thank you. Until those are typed in, we're going to continue on answering questions so we can catch up. All right. Shaunathon sends in a question. Sean says, in a half PPR, need a risk it for the biscuit flex for the win. We have Worthy, Tillman, Shakir, or Dowdle. In a half PPR, I think if you're going for the quote-unquote risk it for the biscuit, it's either Worthy, Tillman, or Shakir. I don't know if Dowdle can theoretically capture that. He's going to have to score a touchdown minimum and then have himself a crazy yardage count. Like, I'd rather rely upon a wide receiver to accomplish it because they can make one singular play over the top of a defense, right? So, as of the group, if I'm risk it for the biscuit, I'd probably go Tillman there. Thank you, Sean. Emily Doyle sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, Rashad White or Cade Otton in the flex. Okay, so let me see where I have them ranked, Emily. In terms of Cade Otton, okay, he's there, and then Rashad White is there. Yeah, so I'd play Cade Otton. Between the two of them, that would be the preferred in the full PPR, Emily. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Airbender, who says, in a non-PPR, no Zeke, Dowdle, or Javonte. I'd seriously, it's not even close. Dowdle would start 10 times out of 10 over Javonte Williams, in my opinion. Zeke, in his presence, wasn't even like necessary for that ranking to exist. Now there's just even more confidence in the overall manner, considering he will be insured without a doubt the goal line back. Jonathan Del Angel sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, 2 flex league, we need Leggett, Coker, Ferguson, or Dowdle. Okay, so let me see where I have them ranked accordingly. Let me see where I have Dowdle in comparison. So I have Dowdle there, okay, and then let me see where I have Leggett is there. Where's Ferguson? Where's Fergie? So yeah, as of right now, the two that I would suggest are both those Cowboys. That's the way that I'd go about it as of this current moment in time. Jonathan, Dowdle, Ferguson will be the two starts there over the Carolina Panthers duo that you have available. Michael Amato sends in a question, says, hope you're doing well, Andy. I am. Very little sleep, but I'm doing well nonetheless. Flacco or Dak Prescott in a 6-point per passing touchdown league. I'm comfortable with either of the two. I'd play Flacco there if it was my team, though. Falcons defense stinks. I agree, but so does the Minnesota. Their secondary has been torched by many of offenses. But again, we're splitting hairs in this situation. Flacco's my number 16 as of right now in a 4-point. Dak's my number 17. They're back-to-back ranked. If you want to play Dak, I have no issue with it at all. Again, like I've mentioned before, the only thing that bothers me with Dak Prescott is turnovers. Now, as for your next question, full PPR flex spot, Dowdle, Keon Coleman, Tolbert, Waddle. Let me see where I have Rico comparison to the rest. Dowdle. So I have him ahead of Keon Coleman. Let's see where I have him ahead of the rest here. You have Tolbert. You have, I'm going to play Rico Dowdle there as your flex. Michael Amato, thank you. Cameron Kaplan sends in a question. Thank you, Cameron. Cameron says, drop Mason for Dowdle? Absolutely, yes. Otten or Kraft the rest of season? That's a tough one. I mean, I'd venture to say, based on how well both of them have played, it's really just going to be a matter of who scores more touchdowns. Really, that is the most valuable prospect in the grand scheme of it. So I'll probably say that Kraft is probably more implicated. So that's probably the direction I go in terms of rest of season. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Let's see if I can go back in the chat. Tommy Gunn, if you can, also type in the live chat, whatever your question was, assuming it's not in there. Tommy Gunn, and then we also had Carl who sent in a question, nothing attached to it. So I'm going to let's go back into the live chat here. Let's see if Christian Miller and Anonymous has sent in anything. All right, so in terms of the live chat, Christian Miller says, good morning. In a full PPR, start 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 flex this week. Okay. Between Myers, Mooney, Hopkins, Coleman, Worthy, Dobbs. Okay, so out of all those wide receivers, Myers and Mooney are your 1-2. You know that. They're the best available options. As for your running backs in this circumstance, you're picking only one. You have Bijan, which is available. That is the auto start. He's a top 3 running back, no questions asked. And then you have 1 flexible player within this entire group. In a full PPR, it's between those options and Brian Robinson. I'm going to play Brian Robinson there, to be totally honest. And then also Vikings or Titans or Patriots this week. Yeah, I'm just going to roll with the Vikings. I don't have an issue with that. Just having the Vikings on roster and not having to go pick up another defense and drop somebody off is preferred. If you want, you can go ahead and roll out either the Patriots or the Titans. You see my rankings on screen, but yes, I do prefer the Vikings in this scenario. Thank you, Christian Miller. All right, Anonymous sends in a question, says in a half PPR, pick 2, Mooney, DJ Moore, BTJ. Between those 3, I'm playing, well, actually, let me see here. In a half PPR, the rankings are on screen. You know what they look like, right? So they'll filter through. As for DJ Moore and Mooney, I do have DJ Moore ever so slightly ahead of Mooney, but yeah, that would be the suggestion, DJ Moore and BTJ. Now, as for your next question, should I play BTJ over Mooney, then pivot to Dobbs if he's out, or play Mooney at number 1, be safe, and start BTJ over Moore if he's active? Okay, so I understand what you're saying. I believe BTJ is going to for sure play. Like, if you were to ask me, Andrew, which way are you leaning? I have a more positive outlook on the matter based on what I have heard, rather than the kind of more risky, I need to have a pivoting option situation. So as of right now, if I'm thinking about this in the long term as to how we go about, if it was me, let me see here. Let me look at the schedule of these games. NFL Week 9. All right, so let's see here. Considering they play then, okay, I'm very much so comfortable considering how closely they are ranked. I'm comfortable playing Mooney against the Cowboys, and then if the afternoon slate appears and BTJ is not available, you have the pivoting option of DJ Moore, and then if BTJ is available, you'd play him, and I have no issue with that at all. I think that is the safe and probably the most responsible way of going about it, to where you don't leave yourself, out dry and kind of screwed and fed to the wolves. So in this scenario, you probably play Mooney with the potential of hoping to play BTJ alongside of him. But if not, then you pivot to playing DJ Moore. That's probably the correct way of going about it, Anonymous. Thank you. All right, let's see if Tommy Gunn sent in a question into the live chat. Let's see. Tommy Gunn, are you there? Anything? Okay, nothing yet. Let's see if Carl sent in anything in the live chat. Anything, Carl, anything? Nope. All right, we will wait until that question gets sent through. I don't see it. If you guys send in a question and I say, hey, type it in the live chat, and you've typed it in and I'm telling you that I don't see it, try to re-rack the question in the way that you have structured it. Because sometimes if you type in the same question too many times, the auto mod will just ban you. Like it will. Like it'll just, for somehow, some way, I don't even have a setting for that. For some reason, YouTube makes it so where if you type in the same question too many times, eventually no one can see your question. Which, yeah, very interesting. But until Tommy, Gunn, and Carl send those in, we're going to continue answering questions here. We had a question that came in from Ibrahim. Follow-up says, Bo, Kyler, or Cousins? Pick 2. I mean, as of right now, the rankings are on screen. The 2 highest ranked that I currently have would be Bo Nix and Kyler Murray. I have Cousins right behind them in the pocket. If you prefer to play Cousins over one of them, go for it. I have no issue with it, but that's the order in which I have it ranked currently. And that's the way that I would address it in your direction. Marvin Lewis sends in a question, says, good morning, Andrew. Standard league, Caleb or Dak Prescott? I'd prefer to play Caleb Williams. Next question. Also start 1 and flex 1. Bigsby, Travis Etienne. Let's see here. We have Evan Ingram, Ferguson, Eckler, and Leggett. Okay. So in a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, I'm playing both of... Yeah, I'm going to play both of the... Well, actually, you have 3 Jaguars available here, but I'm going to play Bigsby and Evan Ingram. That's the 2 that I would roll with in a standard scoring league, Marvin Lewis. Thank you. Gio sends in a question, says, flex full PPR. Brian Robinson Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., Downs, or BTJ. Out of those 4 options, I'm playing Josh Downs as the number 1. Gio, thank you. Javonte, Leggett, or Taysom in the flex full PPR. I'm going to play Leggett there out of all of them. Thank you. Moving on to Anthony O, who says in a full PPR, tight end, TJ Hawkinson or Kraft. In a full PPR, I'd rather play TJ Hawkinson. Rest of season, Geno or Stafford? I'd rather have Stafford. Thank you. Carlton Collins sends in a question, says PPR safer, Downs or Brown? I think the safety legitimately is probably with playing Josh Downs. Like I think that there's almost a guarantee that you're going to get 12 points out of him with your eyes closed, with like 6 catches for 60 yards. Any sort of upside that he gets with, like, I don't know, the upside of 8, 9, 10 catches, any sort of yardage that's implicated afterward, or the passing touchdown upside of Joe Flacco looking in his direction. I think the safety is probably in a full PPR with the wide receiver in that circumstance. But obviously, with Chase Brown having the entire backfield to himself, he could very easily finish the game with like 5-6 receptions, which I'm hoping he's able to do so, to where it kind of gives him more upside. But yeah, I think the wide receiver is the safer of the 2. Now, as for your next question, Nix or Darnold? I'm up. Yeah, I just played Darnold there very comfortably. Thank you, Carlton. Kyle D sends in a question. Says standard, Josh Jacobs, Pollard, Dobbins. Yeah, as of those 3, I'd want to play Pollard, but considering like the injury, the potential of him re-aggravating said injury, and considering you have Jacobs, which is so closely ranked, I think I just play Jacobs there, and I just don't even take the risk of anything of that nature. So my suggestion would be to just play Jacobs there, Kyle. Thank you. Cinco2X sends in a question. Thank you, Cinco. Says in a PPR, Brian Thomas Jr. or Kareem Hunt? In a full PPR, I'd rather play Brian Thomas Jr. That's the way that I'd go about it. That's the preference. Again, Kareem Hunt, very much so implicated for his solid 60-70 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown minimum. If he's able to score a 2nd rushing touchdown or get himself an abundance of receiving upside, fantastic. But considering, again, Kareem Hunt plays on Monday night, you can wait until the afternoon, this afternoon specifically, to know whether or not BTJ is playing. You have the pivoting option, but for now, BTJ is the preferred. Thank you. Fernando Perez sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, I have A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Breece Hall, Kamara, and Olave. At the flex bench, we have more for Olave and set Chase Brown in the flex. As of right now, the way that you have is set, Fernando, with A.J. Brown as your wide receiver 1. Your wide receiver 2, yeah, in my opinion, should be Olave. Then Breece Hall, Kamara as RB1, RB2, and then I would play Chase Brown in the flex. So within your question, yes, that exact frame of mind, that exact approach to it, I think is the correct way of going about it, of playing Olave as the wide receiver 2, Chase Brown in the flex. And then as for your next question, Evan Ingram or Hawkinson, I'd rather play Evan Ingram as of today. Thank you. Pipe Down sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, pick 2 between Douglas, Pittman, Elijah Moore, Dak, or Stafford. Okay, so I'm going to assume that these are 2 separate questions because of the period that separates them. So as of right now, if I'm suggesting the 2 between those wide receivers, Michael Pittman Jr. and Elijah Moore are the two preferred. Now, as of Dak Prescott or Matthew Stafford, I play Matthew Stafford today. Thank you. Demo305 says, in a pick one flex situation, we have Waddle, Marvin Harrison, Ladd, and Tillman. I'd play Marvin Harrison 1. As of right now, probably leaning towards like Ladd 2, Tillman 3, Waddle 4 as of this current situation. Thank you. All right, let me go back into the live chat and see if Carl sent in a question. All right, nothing from Carl. Maybe I had answered Carl's question via proxy of somebody else's. Tommy Gunn, I see, says, I forgot about the rankings. We're up, LOL. Okay. I was thinking either Chargers defense or Bengals defense today for week 9. I'm going to keep the Chargers. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it, my man. All right. I'm going to assume that Carl is most likely not going to roll back in here. And if he does, I'll answer it later on. Continuing on. We had a question from FC Ware. FC says, Judy, Bigsby, or Roma Dunze in a full PPR. I would play Jerry Judy there. Thank you. Pokemon, gotta catch them all, says, in a start 1 RB1 flex full PPR, Chuba Hubbard, Pollard, Marvin Harrison, and Ladd McConkey. Out of those available, I'm playing both the running backs. I prefer to play Chuba and Pollard if you're able to do so. Thank you. If you needed a pivoting option in case Pollard somehow, some way in the final minutes is inactive, you'd pivot to playing Marvin Harrison ahead of him. Thank you. Nelson Weston says, forgot to add, I have Kelsey as well. Okay, cool. So then at that point, you can make that move. I have no issue with it at all. If you have Kelsey as well, then at that point, yeah. Let's see here, Nelson. So this is the way we go about it. With Kelsey in the mix. So if you have Mahomes at quarterback, that was already established. Chase Brown as your RB. Your tight end would be Kelsey now. Your wide receiver would still be playing Mooney. Then in your flex position, I'm going to play Njoku and I'm going to play Kareem Hunt. Those are the two that I'd play there. So Hopkins would take the bench in order to play Njoku in the flex while playing Kelsey as your tight end. Nelson. Thank you. Appreciate the follow-up context. Travis sends in a question. Says, Tracy, Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard, Hunt, Downs, Amari Cooper. I need need an RB2 and 2 flex spots. Very well. So we need 3 players out of those available. The RB2 of the bunch, considering the format and everything, Tony Pollard would be the preferred. Again, if he is not available, then we will have a pivoting option here. But Tony Pollard would be the RB. The 2 flex would consist of, again, it's very much so dependent on scoring format. I'm going to assume that this is a full PPR league because after you put the ... ellipses, you put 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, full PPR. I'm going to assume the first question is also full PPR. Not 100% certain, but let's assume it is. Tony Pollard would be the number 1 as your RB. Then I would play Downs alongside of Brian Robinson within your flex. Now, if in fact we could not see Tony Pollard play today, you would then play Hunt, Downs, and Brian Robinson. Amari is not playing out of the group, though. Thank you. Now, as for your next question, 3 wide receivers, 2 flex in a full PPR. It says Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Kupp at wide receiver. JT is my RB1. Got it. So basically, now I understand it is a full PPR. Now that I've read the full question, I would still suggest, again, Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson, and Downs would be the suggestion. Thank you. We have a question that comes in from Jacob Harris. Thank you, Jacob. This is in a full PPR flex. Tillman, Deontay Johnson, or Tracy. Tracy would be the suggestion as the number 1. Tillman, number 2. Deontay Johnson, number 3. Again, guys, do not play Deontay Johnson today. He will barely play within the offense, learning a new offense as a wide receiver and playing within one singular week. We've just witnessed DeAndre Hopkins and Amari Cooper both suffer from that in the last couple weeks here. So I understand that we will not see very much of Deontay Johnson within the upcoming matchup. Tracy's my suggestion, Jacob. Thank you. Nick L sends in a question, says, happy Sunday, brother. Questions in the chat. Thank you, Nick. Let me go ahead and see if I can find that. All right, let's see here. Nick L says, in a full PPR, pick 4 between Tyrone Tracy, Chase Brown, Marvin Harrison, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, and Higgins if he is magically starts. No, he's not going to magically start. I'm actually curious. Have they not given him the out designation on different platforms? Is he still like in limbo? I don't know why he would be. That's the only reason I'm asking. Let's see here. Because anytime player is given the doubtful designation, like it's a foregone conclusion they're going to be out. So let's see here. Is he? Yeah, he's still doubtful. But again, he's got a 0-point projection like on Yahoo. So I'd assume he's probably not going to play much, if at all, today in this circumstance. So yeah. As for, let's figure this out. Going back to your question here. Go to live chat. All right. So we're going to assume that Higgins does not play. And even if he does, I probably still wouldn't play him. The 4 that I would suggest playing in a full PPR as of right now, Nick, would be Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Chase Brown. And then at that point, I probably, let me see where I have Tracy in comparison to Marvin Harrison in a full PPR. Tracy. Yeah, I have Marvin Harrison ahead. Okay. So, Nick, the suggestion would be Chase Brown, Marvin Harrison, McLaurin, and Drake London. Those are the 4. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question that comes in from Sal Palumbo. Thank you, Sal. Sal says in a half PPR flex, Deontay Johnson, Quentin Johnston, Wicks, or Chestnut if Pollard is out. If Pollard is out, Chestnut is the automatic play. No questions asked. If, in fact, we get to a situation where, again, we're anticipating that there will not be the overall Tony Pollard being out situation, I'm playing Wicks out of the group. Joshua Wilkins sends in a question, says in a half PPR, would you swap any of Chase, London, Kupp for Downs? Are we not worried about Pollard's health for today, struggling with him over Connor? I mean, again, I would expect him to play because he is at a full capacity to where he is able to play. So, I mean, really, the thing is, I can only speculate what the severity of the injury is. I only have so much information available to me. So I can play the fear game, or I could just throw out the player that is in a great matchup and just hope that he is, again, playing for a reason because he is at a full and healthy enough capacity to do so. So I'm not too worried about it. Now, in regards to your first question, would you swap Chase, London, Kupp, or for Downs? No, I would keep all 3 of those wide receivers over Downs in a half PPR. Again, half PPR rankings are on screen. But yeah, I'm not really worried about Pollard. If you want to play Connor there, certainly can. Again, they're both great options. I don't think there's a wrong answer between the 2 of them, but yeah, obviously I prefer one over the other. All right, let's see here. Continuing on, we had a question sent in from, all right, Nikki sends in a question, says in a full PPR, Elijah Moore, Coker, or Parker Washington. Let me see where I have Elijah Moore in comparison to Coker in a full PPR. Elijah Moore sits there. Yeah, so Elijah Moore will be number 1, Coker will be number 2, and then Parker Washington will be number 3. That is the order which I have it set as of right now. Nikki, thank you. Offset Gaming says in a full PPR, Stevenson or Dowdle, hard stuck between both. Let me see. I'm pretty sure full PPR running back. Let's scroll over. Yeah, as of right now, I do still have I have Ramondre Stevenson over Rico Dowdle in a full PPR. So I'm still comfortable with Ramondre in that circumstance. Thank you. Again, they're back-to-back ranked, though. So if you want to play one over the other, I have no issue with it. Darius Coleman sends in a question, says, would you trade Montgomery and Xavier Worthy for Tyron Tracy and Jaden Reed in a full PPR redraft format? In terms of the long-term potential, yes, I would. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Dave, who says, trade Bigsby and Addison for Waddle. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be willing to do so. I mean, you could wait until this week and probably buy Waddle extremely low because, again, he typically doesn't have himself great performances against the Buffalo Bills. So, I mean, again, the Bills have beaten the Miami Dolphins in, I think it was 11 of the last 12 games. I don't know the last time that the Miami Dolphins actually beat the Bills in Buffalo, and they're going to have their hands full. We'll see how that works. But as of right now, I would make that trade. As for your next question, or trade Brian Robinson, Bigsby, Addison for Jones and Waddle. Yeah, I would take the second trade. Give me Aaron Jones and Waddle rest of the way, Dave. Thank you. CDL Airsoft sends in a question, says in a full, was it 6 point per passing touchdown league? Okay, in a full PPR. I'm starting Baker over Kyler. Any thoughts? I have no issue with it. Again, Baker Mayfield has thrown 3 touchdowns or scored 3 touchdowns in each of the last 5 games. I have no issue with you wanting to roll him over Kyler Murray. Again, the only issue that I have with Baker is purely the matchup against Kansas City. A couple weeks back, they dismantled that 49ers defense. That 49ers offense. That is what scares the shit out of me. That defense, when they want to step up and they're not playing, down to Gardner Minshew and they want to step up and play to elite talent, they can just, impose their will. But as of right now, I have no issue with it at all. Anvesh sends in a question, says, defense, Patriots or Los Angeles Chargers? I'd rather play the Chargers defense. Again, the rankings are on screen. As for the next question, pick 2 between Jacobs, Tyrone Tracy, Mooney, and Hunter Henry at tight end or Taysom Hill. Okay, so between the 3 that you've mentioned here, I'd play Tyrone Tracy and Jacobs on Vesh, and then as for your tight end, I'm going to play Hunter Henry. Unless it was a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, that's the only time I play Taysom Hill there over Hunter Henry, and even then it would be tough to do so. Teddy H sends in a question. Says PPR need a flex between Rashad White, Jacoby Myers, Mostert, Mooney, and Addison. Out of those available in a full PPR, I am playing Jacoby Myers. Next question. Also, I have Purdy on bye. I picked up Stafford. Should I drop him for Knicks for this week's? Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer to do that. Again, Knicks has an incredible matchup against Baltimore secondary. I think the spread right now is egregiously, let's see here, NFL Week 9 spreads. The spread between the Ravens and the Broncos seem like 9 points is ridiculous in the NFL. So I think there's a over expectation of what is potentially going to occur. Like the garbage time, like let's just put it this way. The way that I see Bo Nix right now, he is pretty much a unknown version of Blake Bortles. Just understand that you are starting Blake Bortles. That is what his value is. That is what he is going to present. It is Blake Bortles with the potential of turnovers, but a lot of rushing upside and a great matchup in which he can get his arm working with Cortland Sutton, with whatever wide receiver core he's got. He's got, again, he's got the Mims, he's got Avele, I mean, Troy Franklin, not the greatest names, not the best talent, but enough to where he can still get the job done within the given week. I mean, again, Jameis Winston just went for 330 and 3 last week, so putting that into perspective. So yeah, just understand that it's pretty much Blake Bortles, if you're familiar with that. If you're not familiar with it, then again, he's just a fantastic fantasy quarterback, and yes, I'd be willing to roll with him this week. All right, let's see here. Martin Miller sends in a question. Pick 2 in a full PPR. Downs, Mooney, McBride, and Brian Robinson. I'm going to play Downs, and I'm going to play McBride there. Those would be my 2 suggestions, Martin Miller. Thank you. K Visionary says PPR flex Chubb/Dowdle or Mostert. I'd rather play Dowdle out of the group. The order in which I have it right now in a full PPR would be Dowdle 1, Chubb 2, Mostert 3. All right, let's see. Yasi Milike sends in a question. Says drop Coker for stash Khalil Herbert or drop Khalil. I'd rather just, I don't need to have Khalil Herbert on roster. I'd rather just have Coker there. Thank you. OJ Running says Javonte Williams, Pitts, or McConkey in a PPR flex, pick 1. Between the bunch, let me see where I have the full PPR rankings. Let's see, full PPR. As of right now, I do in fact have, I have Kyle Pitts 4 spots ahead of Lad McConkey. Kyle Pitts would be the suggestion against Dallas this morning. Thank you. Moving on to the next question on hand, we had one from Justin who says Dowdle or Stevenson. Yeah, as of right now, between the two of them, whether it is half or full PPR, I have Ramondre Stevenson 1 spot ahead of Dowdle in both scenarios. So that's the way that I'd go about suggesting it. As to your next question, trade Olave for Gibbs. If you don't need the wide receiver depth, I'd say yes, absolutely. Let's make that move. All right, Hank Hennig sends in a question. Says PPR streaming for week 10 with Love on a bye. Would you stash Justin Herbert versus Tennessee? Nope. Russell Wilson versus Washington? Nope. Tua versus the Rams? Potentially. Flacco versus Buffalo. Lawrence versus Minnesota. Derek Carr versus Atlanta. Okay, got it. So of the available options, I'm not even joking. I think I'd play Flacco there. Out of all of those options, Flacco would be the preferred. That's the way I go about it. It's either Flacco or I'm playing Trevor Lawrence. Those are the 2. Thank you. Moving on to Cinco2X as a follow-up. Says, explain why Chargers defense 3rd overall versus Cleveland. Again, Cleveland's offense is great, but again, you have to understand that they took on the Baltimore Ravens last week. The Baltimore Ravens, guys, is not a good defense. Like, sure, you may think of Baltimore and the initial thought is oh, Baltimore's always got a good defense. This year is not the case. Like, they've given up, the last 4 games, 330 passing yards, 370 passing yards, 269, and then 392. And then if you go 2 weeks before that, in week 3 against Dallas, they give up 379, 276 to Gardner, 291 to Mahomes. Like, they've given up the best games to all these quarterbacks. Their best games in the seasons have been against them. Like, this secondary it's not great. Okay? I'll just put it that way. So what Winston was able to do to that defense is going to be a complete 180 shift in comparison to what the Los Angeles Chargers defense presents, which is a significantly better defense across the board. They've got a significantly, in my opinion, better pass rush and a better secondary at the moment. So I think it does bottle them up a bit to where they're less pass heavy in that approach. I don't think we're getting Jameis slinging the ball 45 times today. If we do, then I'm perfectly fine to be wrong in it, but that's kind of the direction of why I'm leaning there because, yeah, it's not a passing funnel anymore. Coin Flip says in a full PPR flex, Dobbins, Rico, Waddle, Worthy. As of those available options, I am playing Dobbins. Thank you. Matthew Wallace sends in a question. Says, pick 2, Shakir, Stevenson, Dowdle, or Otten in a half PPR. Thank you. Okay, so let me see where I have half PPR Otten. Comparison to those running backs that you just mentioned. Okay, and then where is the wide receiver you just mentioned, Shakir? Let me see where I have Shakir accordingly. Shakir. Okay, so the way that I have him ranked, we'll be playing Otten and Stevenson there. Those would be my 2 suggestions as of this current moment. Matthew Wallace, Kate Otten, Ramondre Stevenson. If you just wanted to play both running backs, I wouldn't have an issue with it. Again, I have Stevenson and Dowdle back-to-back, but Otten is ahead of the bunch. Thank you. All right, Bill Grubbs sends in a question. Nothing attached to it, Bill. I'm going to get to your question in the chat. If you could do me a favor and type it in there before I go and look, that'd be greatly appreciated. Actually, I'm going to look right now just to make sure there's nothing in there. Never mind. I do see your question, Bill Grubbs. You don't have to type it in. It says full PPR, McConkey, Njoku, Otten. Rain in Kansas City, pick 2. Is it rain in Kansas City? But again, that's tomorrow. I don't even know what the weather's going to look like. Again, I thought it was not going to rain yesterday, and it rained all day. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. In this certain circumstance, the way I go about it, if I was to play 2, yes, I would suggest playing both tight ends. That's how I have it ranked. That's the way I'm going about it. And I do not worry about the rain in Kansas City. It is not as dramatized as how bad it should be in Green Bay, Wisconsin today. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We have another question. Thank you again, Bill. Appreciate that. Tony HTX 101 says, greetings and salutations, Andrew. In a full PPR flex, J.K. Dobbins or Evan Ingram? I'd rather play Evan Ingram. Thank you. Josie sends in a question. Says, Andrew, what would you do? I need 2 wide receivers. Puka Nacua and BTJ are questionable for 4 p.m. games. I have Tillman and Wan'Dale Robinson on the bench for 1 p.m. games. Should I take the chance? Yes. Puka Nacua and BTJ are going to play today. I would take the chance and I would play them both. Worst case scenario, you pivot afterward. But again, I don't believe the worst case scenario is in the realm of possibility. Again, everything that I have seen and heard regarding Puka and BTJ insists that they are both going to play and they're both going to be ready to go. Bubblegum Cowboy sends in a question. Says, Hunt, Tracy, Swift, Montgomery, sit 1. Out of all those options in a full PPR, Hunt is my lowest ranked player. Thank you. Greg19 sends in a question. Says, Hawkinson on the bench. Trade Bowers/Purdy for Hurts. Yeah, I mean, at this point, okay, just understand, Hawkinson, we are anticipating and we're expecting them to utilize Hawkinson in the same way in which they did last year. If they do so, then I have no issue with this trade. If by 1 or 2 weeks in the future, he is not targeted enough, just in the same way in which Jordan Addison is ignored in this offense, do not be surprised. Because I don't know what Darnold's deal is, but he, for some reason, does not want to heavily target a number 2 receiving option. Hopefully, that will be Hawkinson henceforth. You could wait a week, but honestly, I don't mind just going out to Jalen Hurts outright here because I'm confident enough in Hawkinson's ability going forward. Greg, thank you. Michael James says, Reed or Hopkins in a half PPR. Again, rankings right here. So as of right now, Jaden Reed is my number 28 and Hopkins is my number 30. So I would take Jaden Reed in that circumstance. If you want to play Hopkins, again, there are two spots separating each other. So I have no issue playing one over the other. Thank you. Young Money sends in a question. Says PPR rank in order: BTJ, Reed, Jacobs, Downs. In a PPR, the way I currently have them ranked in order, let me see where I have Jacobs in accordance to these other players so that I can, let's see here, Jacobs. Okay, so in a full PPR, this is how I have it ranked accordingly. So it would go Downs 1, Jacobs 2, BTJ 3, Reed 4. That's the way that I go about it, Young Money. Thank you. Gunny sends in a question. Thank you, Gunny. Says in a half PPR, start Chuba Hubbard or Puka Nacua. Again, at this point, both of them are great plays. Considering, again, if I'm not mistaken, 2 seconds ago, it said from Peter Schrager, Puka Nacua will play in week 9. Again, if he's playing, he's going to go off, right? I mean, it's just that is the Puka Nacua expectation. So I'm going to play him if I was in your position. Also, following your lead, I'm 8-0. Also kicking it in Underdog. Atta baby. Let's go. Thank you, Gunny. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Keelan Simpkins sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, flex Hubbard or McConkey. I'm honestly going to play Hubbard there. Thank you. Chris Moraga sends in a question. Nothing attached to it. Chris, let me see if you said something in the chat. I see your question, Chris. Chris is in a half PPR. Okay, first question. Half PPR, flex 1 between Laporta, Keenan Allen. If I'm not mistaken, I have Laporta ranked higher. Let me see. In a half PPR, Laporta. I do have him ahead of Keenan Allen. Yes, I do. So that's the direction I go in. Now, as for the next question, PPR pick 2 between 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. Okay, let's see. 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Flowers, Ladd, Myers, Rashad White, and of course, my YouTube had to crash. Classic. Oh, no. No. Please don't tell me that I lost the question. Chris, you're going to have to type in the question again. My YouTube crashed, therefore the live chat updated, and because of the live chat updating, I lost the question. So you're going to have to retype that in. Just type it in live chat. Don't send it in via super. Thank you. Redify sends in a question. Says, if Amari Cooper is out, Hawkinson or Chubb? Hawkinson, regardless. Yeah, Hawkinson is probably the preferred as of right now. Actually, you know what? Let me check. Where do I have Hawkinson in comparison to him in a... Let's see, Chubb. Where do I have Hawkinson in comparison to him in this ranking system? Okay, Chubb is there. Hawkinson. Yeah, I have Hawkinson ahead of him. That's the direction I go in. Thank you. AC sends in a question. Says, DJ Moore or Ramondre Stevenson in a full PPR? Let me see where I have DJ Moore in comparison. Moore is right there. That's Elijah Moore. No, I want DJ Moore. I do, in fact, have DJ Moore ahead of Ramondre in a full PPR. So DJ Moore would be my suggestion in that circumstance. Thank you, AC. All right, Joel sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, Singletary? Nope. McLaughlin? Nope. Justice Hill? Nope. Dalvin Cook? Nope. All right. So we're basically just, we're guessing here at this point. Of the available options you have, I'm going to legitimately just, it's either, I'm not playing Dalvin Cook or Singletary. They are my 2 lowest ranked running backs of the given week. Of the available like top 50 that I put up every week. So in regards to the rest of the gang, it's just between McLaughlin and Justice Hill. The way I currently have them ranked would be McLaughlin is my number 42 and Justice Hill is my number 41. So Justice Hill would be my suggestion. Thank you. All right, let's see the Chris. Okay, sorry about that, Chris. Again, YouTube crashed out of my control. So it says Flowers, Ladd, Myers, Rashad White, Stevenson. So if I'm flexing 2 or flexing 1 and playing 2 wide receivers, the 2 wide receivers I would play would be Jacoby Myers and Zay Flowers. And then between either Ladd McConkey, Rashad White, and Stevenson, let's see where I have Ladd in comparison to the bunch. Ladd sits there. Rashad White is slightly behind him, and then so is Ramondre. So as of right now, I have Ladd McConkey as my 55, Rashad White as my 57, and then, Rashad White as my 57, and Ramondre Stevenson as my 58. They are literally within 3 ranks of one another, but I do prefer Ladd McConkey as that last option. So again, top to bottom, it would be 3 wide receivers in that second question: Flowers, Myers, and Ladd. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had another question sent in from Carlos, who says, in a full PPR, Montgomery or Hubbard? I'd rather play Hubbard in a full PPR. Thank you. Charles sends in a question, says, pick 2, DJ Moore, Chase Brown, JSN, Wandale Robinson, full PPR. Out of those available options, if I'm playing 2 of them, it would be DJ Moore and Chase Brown. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. Danny D sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, flex Keon Coleman, Tucker Kraft, or Hawkinson. Let me see where I have Keon Coleman comparatively. Let's see. Keon Coleman is there, and therefore he is ahead of the bunch. Yes, so I would play Keon Coleman ahead of Laporta and Tucker Kraft today. Thank you. Moving on to the next question on hand, we have from Auntie Slayer. It says, I have Bijan. Do I RB2 Algier or Chestnut? I would RB2 Algier. Just to make sure you get all the yardage. Well, just because you have Bijan, I'm willing to do that with Algier. If you didn't have Bijan, as of right now, in terms of a half PPR, if I'm not mistaken, I have Chestnut ahead of Algier. Let me see here. Do I not? Let me see. Where does my rankings have? Algier's ahead of Chestnut, still in a half PPR, 1 spot ahead of him. So, yeah. Consider you have Bijan. I think you just take the full encompassing value of the backfield, just in case any touchdowns are stolen. Just play them both. Thank you. Kevin Smith sends in a question, says, PPR, pick 1 between Montgomery, Marvin Harrison, Myers. Between the 3, I have it as Marvin Harrison 1, Myers 2, Montgomery 3. As for your next question, and drop Russ for Flacco, I would drop Russ for Flacco. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Gets Knowledge sends in a question, says, good morning, full PPR, Pollard or Marvin Harrison? I'd rather play Pollard. Next question, full PPR, Ridley or Tracy Jr.? I'd rather play Tracy Jr. Thank you. Bums Playing Basketball sends in a question, says, Deontay Johnson or Michael Wilson? I'd much rather play Michael Wilson. Thank you. Nick Walker sends in a question, says, start Tyrone Tracy or Pollard? I'd prefer to play Pollard, but if you want to avoid the risk of Pollard, I have no issue playing Tracy there. But again, I would suggest you play Pollard. Auntie Slayer sends in a question, says, I need 1 between Gesicki, Taysom, Leggett. I would play Mike Gesicki out of the group. Thank you. Joey Green sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, questions in the chat. All right, Joey, thank you. Let me see if I can find it, Joey. Joey Green. Joey, do me a favor and type in the live chat. Whenever you sent in that message into the live chat, it was a long time ago, so it is already updated and gone and passed. So if you could do me a favor, type that in now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Until then, 10fam sends in a question, says half PPR McMillan or Coke. Or let's see, Coker as of right now or McMillan. Yeah, I'm going to play Jalen Coker. That is the preferred. McMillan again against Kansas City is not a great overall look. Cairo sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, flex Pitts or Lad McConkey. As of right now, I have Pitts ahead of Lad. Next question. This flex spot is killing me. I have no idea how to justify either. Okay, I got it. You're good, man. Play Pitts. Question. If Puka is out, is DeMarcus Robinson a good backup? Yes, he would theoretically be a good backup, but he is not going to be out, so don't worry about that. Wow. Commanders starting running back Brian Robinson Jr. inactive today. Holy, okay. Very well. So for those of you who have Brian Robinson Jr., it's time to pivot. Speaking of pivoting, Andrew needs to go ahead and change his rankings on screen so that they do not include Brian Robinson Jr. anymore, and I have to compensate for increasing the overall ranking of the one and only Austin Eckler. So one moment, everybody. I will take a couple moments here to re-rack my rankings because I will need to do so evidently. In this scenario, I need to... okay, so we need to do a couple things here. So I need to do a couple things. So I need to get Jeremy McNichols and throw him into the rankings. Let's go ahead. Let's go here. Let's copy paste. Wow, that is a unexpected inactive Brian Robinson Jr. Very much so unexpected. So Brian Robinson's out. So then I'll take Eckler and I will move him up considerably to the extent to where I'm probably moving him against, man, Eckler hasn't been given the RB1 spot for a while here. I think earlier this year he was given the RB1 spot. I'm curious, what week was that? Let's see. If I go to Washington, I go to snap counts. What was the game? Brian Robinson didn't play in week 6. Eckler played 80% of the snaps. In that game in week 6, Eckler in a half PPR, it was against Baltimore. Yeah, but that wasn't really, okay, so that wasn't a big deal. Okay, so in that circumstance, if he's going to play about 80% of the snaps minimum, I'm going to rank him pretty damn high. I think I'll just move him here. I think I'm comfortable with that. Yeah, okay. And then we'll move McNichols probably somewhere like... I think that works. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open my Photoshop here. I'll change the rankings up a little bit. And then we'll be back in just a moment. Just give me a second to fix all the graphics. Like I mentioned, I'm the one-man army. I got to get everything ready to go. For those of you joining us this morning, welcome. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, yes, we all just got the information that Brian Robinson Jr. is not playing. Therefore, we will update the rankings and then continue on as such. Let's go ahead and do that. And then let's go ahead and take these bunch of running backs, move them here. All right. Is that it? I think that's it. File, save as, copy, JPEG. I need to save it to this folder under this name. Save. Okay. So once the running back rankings reappear on screen, whenever they do, I don't know if they're appearing right now, those will be the most up-to-date rankings. So they will no longer include Brian Robinson Jr., and I will have effectively moved Austin Eckler to my number 22. Now, I remember, Flotation, are you playing Austin Eckler? Let me see here. You are playing Austin Eckler, so that's even better for you, Flotation, if you're still here. Okay, anyway, moving on. Taking care of that, and we are off and away answering more questions. Actually, you know what? I needed Joey Green to type in the live chat, so let's see if Joey Green ended up doing so. Joey, where are you? No Joey? All right, so Joey Green is off the scene, and we will just put Joey's name onto the list and keep moving. Okay. All right, let's see here. We have Becky Davis sending in a question. Becky, thank you very much. Says, in a full PPR, Dowdle, Alexander Madison, or Jaden Reed? I'd play Alexander Madison out of the group. Thank you. Jimmy's in the cloud says, in a full PPR, one flex, one tight end, we have Hubbard, Pollard. We'll play at 100% with the foot. Who knows? Time will tell. Otten, concern of rainy weather, and Ingram. Yeah, look, as of right now, in a full PPR, I have Evan Ingram ahead of Otten. That's very comfortably. I have no issue with that. Now, as for Hubbard and Pollard, if you don't want to play Pollard because you are concerned about the injury and there's a potential that he could leave the game, anything like that, again, I have no issue playing Hubbard. They are very closely ranked, as you can see on screen. I have no issue with it at all. Would I play Pollard? Yes, that's the way that I'd go about it, but it doesn't mean that that's how you have to go about it. Thank you. CJ Williams says, full PPR, BTJ or Javonte? Much rather play BTJ. Next question, pick 2 between Harrison, Dowdle, and Coleman. I'd play Harrison and Dowdle there. Thank you. Moving on to Carl, who sent in a follow-up question. Okay, Carl, I see your question now. Carl says, full PPR, flex Coker, Odunze, Tracy, Pittman. If I'm flexing only one of them, let me see where I have Tracy in comparison to Pittman. Pittman. I need to go full PPR on this. Okay. Oh, that's not where I wanted to go. Okay. So Pittman is there, and I have Tracy ahead of him. So Tracy would be my suggestion in a full PPR flex circumstance, Carl. Kalara, thank you. Luis R. sends in a question, says, start 1 between Waddle, Dobbs, and D-Hop. Between the bunch, if I'm not mistaken, I have D-Hop ranked the highest. Thank you. iShine101 sends in a question, says, good morning, Drew. I need one flex between Eckler, Coker, Jameson Williams, Slayton, and Mostert. Yeah, considering the most recent news, Eckler is the suggestion. Thank you. As for your next question, Gesicki and Tolbert on the waivers. I mean, you're going to just play Eckler as of today. Thank you. Alex Alishire sends in a question, says, Kincaid or Kraft? So let me check my full PPR rankings, because you see the half PPR on screen. In a full PPR, I have Kincaid ahead of Kraft in a full PPR. But in a half PPR, I do have Kraft ahead of Kincaid. So depending on your scoring format, that's the way you would go about it. Thank you. We had a question from S. Keel, who says, in a non-PPR format, pick 2 between Neighbors, Tyreek Hill, Josh Jacobs. In a non-PPR, I'm probably playing Tyreek Hill and Josh Jacobs. That's the way I go about it. Thank you. All right, so let's continue to catch up ever so slowly, but we are evidently catching up here. Okay, so the next question belongs to Carlos, who says, what's up? Full PPR, Andrew. Calvin Ridley or Lad McConkey? Let me see where I have them ranked accordingly. And a full PPR, Lad sits there. Calvin Ridley's ahead of Lad McConkey. Thank you. So Calvin Ridley's my suggestion. We move on to a question from Hector Hernandez, who says, Roshan, Ray Davis, or Jaleel McLaughlin to start? I'd rather play Roshan Johnson out of the group. Thank you. Let's see here. Min, okay. We're just going to call you Min for now. Min sent in a question. Nothing attached to it, though. In regards to Min. Min, if you could do me a favor, type your question in the chat. It'd be greatly appreciated. Or maybe it's Mini. Mini Ian Win. Mini Ian? Maybe. That's the question. Maybe that's the name. Mini? Yes, no? All right. Either way, Mini, do me a favor, type the question in the chat once you get an opportunity to do so. Until then, we'll continue on. Roderick Hart sends in a question. Thank you, Roderick. Says Shakir or Pittman in a full PPR. I think I'm still playing Pittman there. Let me see where I have Shakir accordingly in a full PPR. Yeah, I'm still playing Pittman. It is closer off, but I'm still playing Pittman. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Greg19, who says full PPR Hawkinson, trade Bowers, Purdy for Hurts. Yeah, again, Greg, I'm all for that. I have no issue with that at all. Josh Shepard sends in a question, says Tracy or Waddle in the flex? I would rather play Tracy today. Thank you. King Shakur 21 says, I need 2 flex between Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnston, Coker, Slayton, and DeMarcus Robinson. Out of those available, King Shakur, I'm going to play Elijah Moore, and I'm going to play Jalen Coker. Thank you. Moving on to Nathan Smith, who says, in a full PPR, does it make sense to start JSN over Calvin Ridley for the floor? Yeah, if you're just looking for pure floor of production, like we're probably going to get like at least 10 fantasy points from JSN, 5 catches, 50 yards minimum. But I think the overall highest target getter between the two is Ridley. Like the fact that he had 10 receptions and 15 targets last week, over 100 receiving yards in the first quarter, like if they're going to utilize him at that kind of high capacity early on, I'm willing to just take the risk on it. But if you want to just take the safe floor this week, JSN will be the answer. Thank you, Nathan. Lamar Richmond sends in a question. Thank you, Lamar. Lamar says, today start J.K. Dobbins or Tyrone Tracy. Between the two of them, I prefer to play Tyrone Tracy. Actually, let me see here. Where do I have him in a half PPR? I know in a full PPR, I'm very much so Tracy bound. Let's see. Half PPR. Yeah, half PPR, I have J.K. Dobbins one spot ahead of him. Full PPR, I have Tracy significantly ahead of Dobbins because I do expect a lot of receiving utilization within the given game. But yeah, as of right now, Dobbins is pretty safe in a half. I don't mind playing Tracy over him either in a half, but if you're playing in a full PPR, I think that's easily Tracy. For your next question, and who is the best for rest of season? That one's tough because the upcoming schedule for J.K. Dobbins is not pretty. I would be very comfortable with Tracy rest of the way, to be honest. My other running backs are Saquon Barkley and Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, so you're good to go. As of right now, again, if it's a full PPR, you roll with Tracy. And for rest of season, I think that is probably the answer in the long term. Curtis Samuel's active. T. Higgins is inactive. Tyler Boyd and Tony Pollard are active. DJ Chark inactive. Amari Cooper is inactive today. Okay, so I got to update the rankings again. One moment, everybody. So with Amari Cooper out, Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir need to take a little bit of a jump here in terms of the rankings because there's less target competition. So let me just go ahead and let's do that really quickly. Let's remove Amari Cooper as my number 36, and then let's go ahead and drop Jerry Jeudy back into the convo. Then we're going to take Khalil Shakir and where's Keon Coleman? So Keon Coleman sits there. Khalil Shakir's there. Let's mess with this a slight bit. Not too much, because I didn't expect, him to do too much today, but enough to where I am willing to change it ever so slightly. Let's open up the Photoshop again and let's re-rack the ranking, shall we? All right, is there any other players that are deemed active, inactive? That's basically it. Okay. So let me go to the Photoshop. Let's open up wide receivers. Let's copy pasta this. The graphic, boom. And boom. I'm not going to move Dalton Kincaid. I'm not going to move Josh Allen. I'm not going to move James Cook. Those are not implicated. It's just the wide receivers that would get a little bit of an extra potential boost. Not too much, though. Not going overboard. It's not like they weren't already starting. It's not like an Eckler situation where he has to jump massively within the rankings because of the absence of a Brian Robinson. You know what I mean? Okay. So the updated rankings should be displaying on screen. They've moved up ever so slightly, but definitely have moved up in the circumstance. Okay. Continuing on answering questions. We have a question from Rogo, who says, when do we think Amari Cooper and Higgins will be updated? That is hilarious. How by the time I got to your question, Rogo, now is exactly when it went through. So that just seems like that's very poetic, Rogo. Yes, they're both inactive. So if you guys have the ability to do so and you have an available IR spot, go to your team, move those players to the IR spot so that you could potentially go pick up another player or do something else in which you can kind of get more value prior to tomorrow's waiver wire period. Matthew Williams sends in a question, says Stafford or Knicks? I have Stafford in, but I have a gut feeling about Knicks. Help me change my mind. Thanks. Yeah, again, like I mentioned earlier, Bo Nix is the Blake Bortles of the league right now. He is the running quarterback that, again, is going to scramble, get a bunch of garbage time, will be the best garbage man you could possibly imagine. And if this matchup even gets out of hand, again, expect the secondary for the Baltimore Ravens to struggle. Every quarterback has thrown for crazy numbers against them. I'm just expecting Bo Nix to be the next man up in that conversation, on top of the fact that he has ridiculous rushing upside. And anytime they get near the goal line, this guy is doing the Drew Brees jump over the pile and stealing rushing touchdowns from Javonte. So he's implicated for a pretty good baseline of production today. So Knicks would be the suggestion. Drew Wright sends in a question, says half PPR flex, Njoku, Flowers, Myers. Let me see where I have Njoku in comparison. Let's see here. Njoku in comparison to Myers and Flowers. I do have him ahead of Flowers. Where's Myers? Yeah, they're all within 5 ranks of one another, like 44, 46, 48. But I do have Njoku as the highest ranked of the bunch in a half PPR. A little bit more touchdown upside than the rest. Moving on to a question that comes in from Billy. Billy says in a half PPR, trade Pollard for Chase Brown. I need a win. Yeah, if you just want to confirm it outright, I don't have an issue with that at all. Nathan sends in a question, says flex Ramondre, Rashad White, Zay, DJ Moore, or Brian Robinson Jr. As of those available, assuming it's okay, so let's say it's a half PPR scoring format. In a half PPR, let's see where I have Ramondre in comparison. Okay, Flowers is there. Yeah, in a full PPR. Okay, so let's say if you're playing in half or full PPR, I think I'm probably playing Zay Flowers in both scenarios pretty comfortably. If you're playing in a half PPR, you don't trust Zay Flowers because of the matchup against Denver, I wouldn't really worry in your scenario because I don't think that secondary, especially their primary nickel cornerback, I don't think they're great. I mean, the secondary, Surtain is definitely the monster, but I'm sure they'll move Flowers into positions away from him. It'll be Bateman that is taking the grunt or the brunt of the overall kind of downside having matched up against them. So right now I have no issue with Flowers. I probably play him over the bunch in all scenarios. Unless you're playing in a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, at that point, then I just play Ramondre. Thank you. Nathan, appreciate it. Moving on to Carlos Gomez, who says standard. Tight end, Njoku or Ingram. In a standard scoring format, I'd rather play Njoku. And in flex, Dobbins, Mooney, or Downs. In a standard scoring league, I'm playing Dobbins there. Thank you. All right, let me scroll back down. Let me see if Minnie sent in a question. Minnie? All right. Minnie says, I have Hunt on borrowed time. Would you drop him for Chuba / Brooks or Tracy in a full PPR? Yes, I would. I would drop him for Tyrone Tracy rest of the way. Because again, look, here's the thing. Earlier today, we got a report that the expectation for Pacheco is 2 to 3 weeks from now, he will begin practicing again. So I would assume that Pacheco is probably in line for a week 11 return. So yeah, if you can get Tracy now, let's do it. Also, what is the reason for ranking the Bills over the Eagles? Again, I was mentioning it earlier. Tua Tagovailoa against the Bills is not a great play. Just going back to earlier this season, 3 interceptions in just the first half of football. On top of the fact that, again, unless the Dolphins are going to run the ball 30 times today, they cannot move the ball through the air efficiently enough. Like the last 6 meetings between the Dolphins and the Bills. First of all, they cannot beat the Bills. Just the last 12 meetings, Josh Allen has beaten them 11 of the last 12 games. Tyreek Hill's had himself, 82 yards max. Jalen Waddle gets 4 receptions max against them. It just doesn't plug in well. They don't match up well in the overall circumstance, unfortunately. So for now, it should be a pretty easy event there. Now, as for Trevor Lawrence, that entire gang, I think Trevor Lawrence is just more capable of racking garbage time, which makes Eagles a little bit of a lesser option. Alrighty, let's see here. We took care of that. Roderick Hart sent in a follow-up, says trade Josh Jake. Okay, no, we took care of that. Wait. Hold up, wait. Got to scroll back down. Did I miss this question earlier? No, I didn't miss this. This is a new one. Trade Josh Jacobs, Dell Pittman for Chase and both Tampa Bay running backs. No, I'd rather just have the Jacobs out of that overall conversation, Roderick. I'd have to have more context to your roster to know for sure, but I'd rather just keep the Jacobs side for now. Pollux, World of Entertainment, sends in a question, says, full PPR, Reed or Dowdle? Let me see where I have them ranked in a full PPR. Let's go to full PPR, Reed. Okay, so Jaden Reed sits there. Rico Dowdle is literally 1 spot behind him. They're number 63 and number 64. They're in the same tier, but I have Reed 1 spot ahead of Dowdle in a full PPR scoring format at the moment. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Coco Loco, who says, in a full PPR, 2, Shakir. If we're picking 2 between Shakir, DeAndre Hopkins, Pittman, and Rachaad White, the 2 that I would suggest rolling with would be Pittman and Shakir today. Thank you. AZ sends in a question, says, Dak or Sam Darnold? I prefer Sam Darnold greatly. Dak's my number 17. Darnold's my number 6, if I'm not mistaken, as of the remaining quarterbacks. Han Wan sends in a question, says, Mostert or White in a non-PPR? I'm still going to play White there. Thank you. Tony Montez sends in a question, says, in a tight end premium 1.5, Otton or Ferguson over BTJ? Yes. I think I'd play Otton over BTJ. I'm not sure about Ferguson, but I'd consider it. But for right now, yes, I would play Otton over BTJ. Jesse G sends in a question, says JSN, DeAndre Hopkins, or Michael Wilson half PPR. Between the 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, the rankings on screen should designate that, but just to travel on over, let's see, where do we have JSN in comparison? Yeah, I have JSN ahead of DeAndre Hopkins. Again, the rankings on screen are for half PPR, updated as of literally just 10 minutes ago. So let's see, we have, and happy birthday. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Jesse. So yeah, JSN, D-Hop, Michael Wilson, that would be the order. JSN's the suggestion. Frank 2X sends in a question, says, pick 1 flex, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, McConkey, Irving, Dowdle, Tracy. Tracy's my suggestion, assuming it's a half PPR. If it's a full PPR, give me Zay Flowers. Thank you. Moving on to a question from AJ, who says, Madison or Ramondre Stevenson? As of right now, I prefer to play Madison, especially considering his receiving upside in comparison. I'm starting Myers. Yeah, then play both the Raiders. Again, it's a great matchup against Cincinnati's defense. iShine101 sends in a question, says, in a 10-team half PPR league, wondering, should I flex JSN, sit Pollard, and put Hunt as my RB2 instead of flexing Hunt? So basically, I'd bench Pollard, JSN In a half PPR, I'm not so comfortable doing so. I'd start both the running backs in your position. If you want to just play it safe, that is your total final decision that you have to make. But yeah, if it was my choice, I'd just play both the running backs. Thank you. Angie was here, sends in a question, says half PPR, Disley or Likely? I currently have, well, actually, let me check here. I have Disley and Likely both ranked. I have Disley as my number 20, and I have Likely as my number 21 in 2 different tiers. So Disley would be the suggestion in that, in that scenario. Thank you, Angie. All right, and I appreciate the birthday wishes. Thank you. All right, Belly sends in a question. Belly says, would you trade Kelsey and Kupp for McCaffrey? No, I would not. Unless I had more context to your team. If you play in a 6-team league or something of that exchange, 8-team league, and you have like, oh, I also have Brock Bowers on my team, and losing Kupp doesn't matter because I have Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, and Drake London. Like, if you told me that kind of stuff, I'd say sure. But if you're playing in a 12-team league, absolutely not. I wouldn't be willing to do that. Bot to Break sends in a question, says, Otton or Bowers? I'd rather play Bowers. Next, Mooney, question mark. Cooper, Brian Thomas Jr. Okay, so I'm gonna assume the first question is the first question. Otton or Bowers? I'm playing Bowers. For the second question, Mooney, Cooper, Brian Thomas Jr. I'm playing Brian Thomas Jr. there. Thank you. Josh sends in a question. Says full PPR. I need to flex London, Reed, Taylor, Jacobs. Okay. If you need a flex in a full PPR between that group, let me see where I have London in comparison to Jacobs and Taylor. Full PPR. London is the highest ranked of the bunch. Let me see. Where do I have Jacobs and Taylor? Yep. Drake London is the play in a full PPR. As for your next question, Josh, starting Puka and St. Brown at wide receiver, Kamara and HN. Yeah, thanks. You're good to go. I mean, again, you got too many good players, which is your blessing and curse. But yeah, London will be the suggestion. Thank you. Prohibit sends in a question. Says Knicks over Allen this week? No, absolutely not. Myers or Shakir in a full PPR? In a full PPR, I'm pretty sure I'm still playing Myers there. Let me see where I have Shakir. I've moved them up in a half PPR. I don't know if, let me see. Would I move him up considerably to jump over Myers? Okay, so Shakir is okay, so number 20 is Myers, number 22 is Shakir. In the absence of Amari Cooper, theoretically we can move him to 21, but would I play him over Myers? I probably wouldn't. I'd probably still play Myers there and then play Shakir out. Yeah, so Myers is probably still to go there in that circumstance. In a full PPR. Thank you, Prohibit. Frank H says Brian Robinson or Downs again. Yeah, I'm still trying to catch up. You know what to do. You're playing Josh Downs this week. Even if Brian Robinson was healthy, I would have told you to play Josh Downs because, yeah, it's a significantly better play. BT sends in a question. Says no question this week. Just want to say no question this week, but I do need a 2-man lock. AK? Okay, a 2-man lock. Let me go to Underdog. Let me find you a 2-man lock real quick. All right, let's see here. Let's go to Underdog really quick. Let's find something. So in terms of like okay, you can go about it many of different ways. You can do a touchdown anytime, kind of, juice up. I don't know what you want to do, but the two that I prefer, like if you can go get Devon Achane and change his receiving number to 3.5 receptions, I would do that. And then besides that, let me go to my current, what are my current plays? Let's see, pick what did I put next to him? Okay, so the one from the Hidden Gems episode, like Achane higher than 3.5 receptions, Bowers higher than 4.5 receptions, Devontae Smith higher than 3.5 receptions, Chase Brown higher than 2.5 receptions. If you can make 2 different slips of 2 each out of those 4 players, go for it. Otherwise, the 2 favorite will be Bowers and Achane today. Thank you. Both going higher on their receptions, but I took the lower of their receptions. I went to 3.5 and 4.5 from them respectively. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had a question from Pedro's Lucario. It says standard, Olave or Chuba. In a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, we're playing Chuba Hubbard there. Thank you. Chris T sends in a question. Says full PPR, Reed, Chubb, Dowdle, Amari Cooper, Hawkinson, and Keenan Allen. As of those available, let me see where I do have Reed ranked the highest. He's 1 spot ahead of Dowdle, if I'm not mistaken. I've mentioned this before. I have mentioned this before. Yeah, Reed would be the suggestion in that scenario. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Ronson Castillo, who says, in a 2 flex full PPR, Stevenson, Otton, Tillman, or Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs being risky with injury? No, I don't think he's risky at all. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it as always. Thank you very much, Ronson. So as of right now, of the available that you have, I'm going to play Josh Jacobs. If you are sketched out about the potential of him, you could theoretically pivot to playing I mean, look, I want to play Otten alongside of him. So you could theoretically pivot to playing Stevenson, but I wouldn't suggest it. I would just play Otten, and I would play Josh Jacobs next to him. Thank you. All right. Sir Vancelot sends in a question. Thank you, Sir Vancelot. Says, explain higher on Leggett and lower on Keenan. Yeah, look, Leggett purely. Let me go over to it. And I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned on the Hidden Gems episode, and I've mentioned it over the course of the last couple live streams that we've done. The Saints secondary is dismantled. Marshawn Lattimore is out. Kool-Aid McKinstry is out. Paulson Adebo is on the IR. The backup to them all, Rico Payton, is going to be out. Did not practice all week. If they don't have any of their starters and even their second string secondary, Leggett and Jalen Coker are great plays today. Now, again, they have to deal with the fact that their quarterback is Bryce Young, but even last week, both of them scored touchdowns, right? So even against Denver of all defenses, they should be solid this week. I think they're going to be a lot better than people anticipate. Tommy Gunn sent in a follow-up, says, should I drop Wan'Dale Robinson for Xavier Leggett? I would. I don't have an issue with that at all. Leggett is expected to play today, and Wan'Dale Robinson has been very underwhelming as of late. Being that he's my wide receiver one, because I have Khalil Shakir. Okay. I have Khalil Shakir, London, Zay Flowers, and Romeo Dobbs. Yeah, I don't mind making the swap there. That works for me. And yes, Xavier Leggett is the number one wide receiver of that offense going forward. Dirtbag Forever sends in a question, says, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you, DB. Appreciate it. The person formerly known as, and then it gets ... ellipses, says, hey, Andrew, I'm currently 8-0. Thank you for the advice. But would you start DJ Moore, Keon Coleman, or Tracy in a full PPR this week? Out of those three, I think I'm going to very comfortably play Tyrone Tracy. Thank you. It would be between him and DJ Moore. I'm not feeling as comfortable with Keon Coleman in that scenario, but between DJ Moore and Tracy, again, DJ Moore needs the deep ball or he needs red zone targets, which again, he hasn't seen very much of this season. So I'm just going to lean in the direction of Tracy, who again if you're a machine enough to where you can clear concussion protocol in less than 4 days, I'm gonna roll with it, man. The guy's a monster, and he's played incredibly well in the opportunities he's been given as of late. Josh Shepard sends in a question, says, in a full PPR start two between flexing Coker, Wan'Dale Robinson, Adunze, and Keon Coleman. Yeah, out of those four options, my two suggestions, Josh Shepard, will be Keon Coleman and Jalen Coker. Thank you. Mike sends in a question, says, in an 8-team half PPR, one flex, do I start Pitts or Otten? Let me see. Half PPR, I'm pretty sure I still have Otten ahead of him. Yeah, Otten is my number 5. That's the direction I'm going. Again, if you want to play Pitts is my number 7. They are very closely ranked. So if you prefer one over the other, and it's not with what I have on screen, then you're perfectly fine to play Pitts. Got to remember, George Kittle went for 6 catches for 126 and a touchdown last week against the Cowboys. Anybody can score against the Cowboys, and Pitts has played incredibly well as of late. So if you prefer to play him over Otten, I have no issue with it at all. But again, both are great options. Connor sends in a question, says, in my first league, PPR, Connor, Jacobs, Downs, Nakua, Chase Brown, Harrison, Hunt, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Okay, so in your first league, Connor, the way that I would suggest going about it, your 2 starting wide receivers would be Puka Nakua and Josh Downs. Your 2 starting running backs would be Chase Brown and Josh Jacobs. And then your flex out of the available in a full PPR, let me see where I have. No, it's Jacobs. Wait. No, you already have Jacobs. Jacobs, Chase Brown, Downs, Nakua. So then it's between Harrison, Hunt, and Connor. Let me see where I have Harrison in comparison to Connor in a full PPR. I have Marvin Harrison 2 spots ahead of James Conner, ever so slightly ahead of him, but that is the direction we go in. So as of right now, to finalize the first league, Nakua, Downs, Marvin Harrison, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs. Now, as for your second league, full PPR, Swift, BTJ, or Chase Brown in the flex. Between those 3 options, let me see where I have Chase Brown in comparison to BTJ. Let's go here. Let's go Control F. Chase Brown. I do have him. I have both of them ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. But Chase Brown is the highest ranked of the bunch. Thank you. If you wanted to play Swift over Chase Brown, I have no issue with it. They're both in the same tier. So, again, they're both relatively equal in terms of potential projection, but I do prefer Chase Brown in the absence of Zach Moss today. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Harrison 101087, who says, full PPR, pick 2. DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Bucky, Ridley. As of those available, I'm playing DJ Moore and I'm playing Flowers. Thank you. Chicano Raider sends in a question, says, good morning. 2-part question in the chat. All right, Raider, I'm going to hope that I can find your question in the chat, okay? If I cannot, then... Actually, I do see your question. I see one part of it. So it says, in league, One, would you start Secure over Bigsby, Tolbert, or White? Or can I even do Laporta in the flex? Otten is my tight end already. Okay, so for the first question, who we are securing in the flex position, assuming, okay, so if it's between Bigsby, White, you could theoretically go with Laporta. Okay, so let's say it's a full PPR. I'm going to play Rashad White in the full PPR. If it's a half PPR, I'm just going to roll with Bigsby in that scenario. Now, let me see here. Rashad White, yeah, Bigsby. Okay. So then as for your second question, second league, would you start Dobbins over Devontae Smith or Jackson Smith and Jigba? I would only start Dobbins over Devontae Smith. Let me see here. Dobbins. So Dobbins sits there. So the only time I'd ever start Dobbins over Devontae Smith. Let me see. Where do I have Smitty? Smith. The only time I'd ever start Dobbins over Smith is in a standard league where it's 0 points per reception. Otherwise, half PPR, Devontae Smith is preferred over Dobbins. But I would play Dobbins over JSN if given the opportunity. If it was a full PPR, I'd still play Dobbins over JSN. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next question on hand. We had from Niner86, who says, good morning. I need 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex out of Lamb, Cup, Neighbors, Achane, Gibbs, Cook, Hubbard. Thanks. No problem. So of the available, Lamb and Cup are your starting one. Actually, let's see. You have Neighbors as well, huh? Okay. So I don't know what your scoring format is. I'm going to assume it's a half. No, let's assume it's a full PPR just to be safe. Okay. So the 2 running backs that I'm going with in a full PPR are Achane and Gibbs. And I'm going to 100% look to flex Cook. And then let's say it's a full PPR. I probably just go with Cup and Lamb as your wide receiver 1 and 2. So I go Cup, Lamb, Achane, Gibbs, and Cook. That's the way I go about it. Thank you. Hakeem sends in a question, says, Kincaid, Ferguson, Hawkinson, I need a winner. Between the 3 of them, I'm playing Ferguson against Atlanta secondary. They just got murdered by K. Otten last week. Yeah. Yes, correct. Ferguson's the play. I wanted to make sure that I was 100% confirmed on that. Yes. Anthony C sends in a question, says, PPR, flex, Shakir, Mostert, Pollard, or Eckler. Pollard number 1, Eckler number 2, Shakir number 3. You said you don't like Pollard with no practice. Understood. So if you were not going to play Pollard, it would be between Eckler and Shakir, and at that point, I would play Eckler against the Giants defense. Thank you. Kenny 23332 says, in a PPR, pick 1 between Tillman, Brian Thomas Jr., Hubbard, and Ramondre. Okay, let me see where I have Hubbard accordingly in a full PPR. So if I go to full PPR rankings, let's look up Hubbard. Okay, so in a full PPR, considering, let's see here, do they play in the morning slate? They do. Yeah, let's just play Hubbard there. Very comfortably, just play Hubbard. No questions asked about it. I mean, like, it's between Hubbard and BTJ, but considering he plays in the morning, there's no really risk involved. I need to mute myself real quick. My allergies are firing up. I have to scratch my throat from the inside, and it is a disaster. Okay, anyway. The allergy season has arrived, huh? It's only, the beginning of November. What a classic. Let's see here. Is there any new news that I need to... Xavier Leggett is active. All right, Jonathan Brooks expected to make the debut next week. Okay. So anyway, continuing on with your question. Yeah, it's really just between Hubbard and BTJ. Considering BTJ plays in the afternoon, there's still the questionable nature of him. We'll just play Hubbard very comfortably there. Sal Espinoza sends in a question. Says, standard pick 2 between White, Irving, Tillman, Chubb, and Laporta. Okay. In a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, I'm probably going to play... Honestly, I'm probably going to play Chubb and Tillman. That's probably the direction I go in. If not Chubb, I don't have standard rankings, so I don't even have the projection model for it. So, yeah, I think that's just the 2 that I would go with as right now. I play both Cleveland routes. Berlin B says, what's your reasoning for rating Reed so low? Yeah, just purely the weather. It's expected to rain the entire game. And, again... Jordan Love is still hobbled, and Reed hasn't really seen much of a target share as of late. So everything has kind of just... you know what's going to happen today? Reed's probably going to go for 30 points just to shove it up my ass. Just wait for it, guys. I'm telling you, anytime I rank a player significantly below the medium of where it's typically ranked, he should be typically, right? Where we typically have Jaden Reed every week is top 12, top 15. he should probably be in that range. But considering the weather and the Jordan Love injury and the fact that he hasn't seen very many targets and quite frankly never really sees targets, he is touchdown dependent. He's probably going to score 2 touchdowns today and shove it up my ass. Just wait for it. All right, moving on. We had a question from Auntie Slayer who says, I have Bijan. Do I fix Algier or McNichols? Do I flex Algier or McNichols? You meant to say. FLX. Sorry, I thought it was fix. I'd play McNichols there just in case. At that point, I'm cool with that. Common Sense sends in a question. Says, Tracy or Jacobs is my RB2. I'm comfortable playing Jacobs there. Stafford or Love? As of right now, I'm pretty comfortable. Yeah, I'd go with both the Packers in that scenario. I don't have an issue with that. Let's see here. Jockish7 says, I have McBride and Lamb. Do I play Kyler or Dak? I'd prefer to play Kyler. Thank you. More upside, especially with the rushing potential. Telugu sends in a question. Says, James Cook, BTJ, Montgomery, Tracy. 1 running back, 1 flex. The running back that I would play is James Cook. The flex that I would play is under the assumption that this is like a, let's see here, in a half PPR, where do I have the bunch? Where's Brian Thomas in a half PPR? So under the assumption that we are playing in a league where it is a half PPR, full PPR, doesn't matter. Between the two of them, I'm going to lean in the direction of going, let me see this. Yeah, I just go James Cook and BTJ as of right now, Telugu. If it's a standard league, then at that point we can go James Cook and Montgomery. As for your defense, Saints or Chargers, just play Chargers. Thank you, Telugu. Elseway says questions in the chat. All right, Elseway, let me see if I can find it. Elseway says in the flex, Hunt, McConkey, Dobbs, Mooney. Dowdle is on the waivers, worth picking up for depth. Yeah, for sure. Would you drop someone from the above? Also have Baker on the bench. Of the players of the above, look, here's the thing. If you don't have enough running back depth, then yeah, I'm willing to probably drop Mooney in order to ensure that this happens, to pick up Dowdle. But that would be it. Outside of that, I don't drop the other two. But as for the flex for this week, in a full PPR scoring format between Hunt and McConkey, that's really Mooney may end up being the highest ranked. Let me see where I have Hunt in a full PPR comparatively, and then we'll weigh out the overall value here. So Hunt is the highest ranked of the bunch. So that's where we'll go. And then at that point, we'll probably just take Mooney and drop him and pick up Dowdle for future reference in terms of having running back depth for the rest of the way. Thank you. All right, we move on to a question from Honest Abe. Official Honest Abe says in a full PPR, JSN, Waddle, and Ladd McConkey. Got it. In a full PPR, it says, I'm not pumped up about Waddle versus the Bills, nor should you be. JSN, Pick 2. Yeah, as of the two, it's Ladd McConkey and JSN. Like I mentioned earlier in the week on Wednesday's wide receiver video, Ladd McConkey's taking on a pretty good matchup. The primary cornerback that will be covering him this week, not great this season in terms of covering slot receiving options. So Ladd McConkey should be solid. JSN, again, with no Noah Fant and no DK Metcalf, there's no one else to throw the ball to, purely. It's just him or Lockett. So, again, both those are implicated for pretty solid weeks. Unless Waddle scores a touchdown or has over 100 yards, don't expect him to have more than 4 catches today. That's really just the baseline that he has, which, again, the other two options are significantly better in terms of the baseline and potential even upside as they have presented this season. Jorge Perez sends in a question, nothing attached to it. It says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, I need a wide receiver flex and a tight end. We have Dobbs, Mooney, Hunt, Chase Brown, Tracy, Kraft, and Hawkinson. Okay, in a full PPR, I would play Hawkinson over Kraft, so I play Hawkinson at tight end. As for the wide receiver, I would play out of the group. It's between Dobbs or Mooney. I'm going to play Mooney there. And then as for your flex between Hunt, Chase Brown, and Tracy, I'm playing Chase Brown. So the 3 I'm suggesting are Mooney, Chase Brown, and Hawkinson. Thank you, Jorge. I appreciate it. Dr. Turbo says, what's up? Full PPR, pick 2 between for the flex. We have Brian Thomas Jr., we have Eckler, we have Trey McBride, and we have Bowers, DJ Moore, and Pollard. Holy moly. Okay, so we have a lot of players here. We have a lot of potential high upside players. Considering what you have on roster, I'm pretty sure I'm playing Brian Thomas and Pollard. Let's see here. Full PPR, Brian Thomas sits there, Pollard sits there. The next best option would be playing Trey McBride. So if Pollard's going to play, but if you're like, oh man, I it's against my religion to play Pollard when he's injured, then you would play Brian Thomas and McBride as a 2-3. But otherwise, Pollard would be the number 1 with Brian Thomas number 2. Thank you, Dr. Turbo. Hakeem sends in a question. Says, Kincaid, Ferguson, Hawkinson, half PPR. Again, the half PPR rankings are on screen. I'm playing Ferguson there. Thank you. Again, right over there. Half PPR rankings. They filter for a reason. Bullyface says Jacoby or Jaden Reed. I'll take Jacoby Myers there. Thank you. Double T D23 says Coker or Coleman in a PPR. I'll take Keon Coleman. Thank you. Low Kane sends in a question. Thank you very much. Very generous of you, Low Kane. Says, I have Kelsey, Kraft, and Andrews as my tight ends. Would you trade Andrews for ETN? I mean, considering you don't need him, I mean, I'm willing to take the risk. I don't think ETN is... I mean, expect him to have Rashad White level value, if that makes sense. So basically, he's going to be on the fringe of being a potential RB2 in a good matchup. Will have potential upside if scores a touchdown and has himself an abundance of receiving work. Otherwise, is getting half of his workload siphoned away by the other running back on the team. So if that kind of makes sense, you're pretty much investing in a low-end RB2, high-end RB3, which, again, I don't mind it. All right, YouTube crashed again, so let's go ahead and update it really quick. Let's just refresh the page because, of course, it crashes all the damn time. No problem. All right, let's see here. Scrolling back up, see if I can find some of these questions that we were on. Okay, so we have to refresh this page as well, and we are good to go. All right, so where art thou? Where was the next question on the list? All right, after Locaine, we have Sir Vancelot, who says, flex Ladd, Ingram, or Eckler in a PPR. Yeah, as of right now, it's going to be Eckler. Thank you. I mean, Ingram is someone that I would think about, but in a full PPR with Eckler with a full encompassing backfield, dude, you know what? Let me see. Where do I have Ingram in comparison to? Because I don't have, let's see here. Okay, hold up. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm playing Eckler. That's the way I go about it. Thank you. All right, moving on to the question from Shining, who says, in a full PPR, Marvin Harrison, Waddle, or Flowers? Marvin Harrison will be number 1, Flowers 2, Waddle 3. I have my wide receiver 2 and Jacobs, Flowers, Worthy, Waddle, or Chubb in the flex. Got it. So for the first question, again, wide receiver 2 would be Marvin Harrison. In the second question, the flex would be Josh Jacobs. Thank you. Moving on to Hector Hernandez, who says, half PPR flex out of Wando Robinson, Elijah Moore, Kincaid, or McMillan. Out of those available options, let me see where I have Kincaid in comparison to Elijah Moore, because those are my 2 highest ranked of the group. Let's go to half PPR. Let's look up Kincaid. Elijah Moore and Kincaid, I'm not even making this up. They're back-to-back ranked. Elijah Moore, 82, Kincaid, 83. Considering the absence of Amari Cooper, let's bump Kincaid up there and let's just take Kincaid as the option to play today. Thank you. We have a question that comes in from DK, who says, Josh Downs or Chase Brown? Let me see who I have ranked higher in a full PPR. Chase Brown. As of right now, I do have Josh Downs ranked higher. Thank you. In a full PPR, though. In a half PPR, it'd be the other way around. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to the next question. We had one from Donnie Fiji, who says, PPR, should I start Chuba Hubbard or Tillman in the flex? Chuba Hubbard will be my suggestion. Thank you. Pyro Hype 323 says, half PPR flex Hunt, Montgomery, Pitts, or Mooney. Out of those available in a half PPR, Hunt is number 1. Sorry. Montgomery's number 1, Hunt is 2, Pitts is 3, Mooney's 4. Thank you. Carlos Laurie says, good morning, Andrew. Good morning to you as well, Carlos. Says, I need one for the flex. Gibbs or Worthy? It's not even close. It's Jahmyr Gibbs by a metric fuck ton. It's not even close, Carlos. You're good to go. Let's see here. Just Do It. 843 says, BTJ, Mooney, Pollard, Hopkins, or Flowers. As of those available options that you have, Pollard's my number 1. BTJ is 2. Flowers 3, Mooney 4, Hopkins 5. Thank you. Raghav, I see that you sent in a question, nothing attached to it, but I'm assuming you've typed it in the chat. You're pretty good at doing that. But unfortunately, let's see, where's the most updated chat? Raghav, if you could do me a favor, type it in the chat. There was nothing as of right now. MC says, did you see my super chat? MC, I'm assuming you sent it in recently. I'm not even caught up with that. Like, I see it in the chat, and I'll answer it right now. But I'm like ways away. Like, I'm still trying to catch up. I see your question. It says, full PPR, Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, Reed, and Downs. What 2 do I play? The 2 that I would suggest is playing Downs and Tyreek Hill. But again, yeah, I'm not even close to catching up to that section of the questions. I'm slowly but surely getting there, though. Thank you. Just Do It. 843 says, BTJ Moon. Okay, so we took care of that. Again, that was the order. Raghav types that in the chat. David Garcia says, what week 9 game matchups you got winning this week? Let me see here. Week 9. Let's see here. I have Buffalo beating. Okay, so if I'm just talking about straight winners, who is winning against the other? Like if I can give you the just guarantees. Buffalo's beating Miami today. As to how much they cleared the overall spread, that is irrelevant. I have no clue. Buffalo's beating Miami. Eagles are beating Jacksonville. Washington is beating the Giants. LA's beating Seattle. Those are some guarantees. That's about it. Everything else is a toss-up as of this season, man. You never know. There's some random stuff that happens every week. All right, let's see here. Pilot Jones says, Dobbins or Eckler in a full PPR RB2. In a full PPR, I will take Eckler there because he gets a little bit of more, receiving potential in that circumstance. No Love Matt sends in a question. Says, in case BTJ doesn't play, I pick up McMillan or Coker. I'd rather play. Well, no. Does Coker play in the morning? Coker plays in the morning. So you can't actually. That is not a pivoting option. It would be McMillan. That's the only option you have then. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Cody Watts, who says Waddle, Flowers, or JSN as my wide receiver too. Flowers would be my suggestion. Thank you. Honeycott sends in a question. Says, I have Jacobs, Pollard, and Chuba. We riding with Josh? I mean, as of right now, comparatively to the other two options, yes, that's what I would prefer. If you prefer to play Pollard or Chuba Hubbard, I have no issue with it. Again, you see how closely they are ranked in my half PPR. In a full PPR, quite frankly, all of them are exposed to receiving opportunities, so there's not that much of a greater upside for either the potential options over another. Bot to break sends in a follow-up. Says PPR Otten, Jacobs, or Pollard. Again, as of right now, in a full PPR, let's look up where I have Pollard accordingly. Pollard sits there. Where the heck is Josh Jacobs? Jacobs is there, and Kate Otten is there. Where's Kate Otten? Yeah, so Josh Jacobs is a suggestion in that scenario. Thank you. All right, let's see if Raghav sent in a question. Anything from Raghav? There you go. I see it in the chat. All right, Raghav says, in a PPR, who do I start in the flex? RB2. Okay, so you have two different options. You have Josh Jacobs, James Conner, Chuba Hubbard, and Josh Downs. Okay, in a full PPR, Josh Jacobs is your RB2, and Josh Downs is your flex. Thank you, Raghav. I appreciate it. Have a good one. All right, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Hakeem, who says, why is the Saints drop from 3 to 10 on the list? Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. This will be the fourth time that I mentioned it on the live stream. Do not feel bad that asking that many times. I will continue to mention it because it is very important to understand the context. There are going to be 4 starting cornerbacks for the secondary of the Saints that are missing. Marshawn Lattimore, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Paulson Adebo, and Taylor, or somebody Payton. I don't know. I don't even know. Something Payton. I know that's his name. When you have all those secondary members missing, on top of the fact that this defense already can't stop the run, it makes them a significantly lesser option. Yes, they're still taking on Bryce Young, which is a very advantageous position to be in for many of defenses, but even with that scenario, they are missing a lot of members of their starting defense, which does not make them as enticing of a play in comparison to earlier this week, where we had no context of that being the case with all those players out. Brett sends in a question, says, crazy for considering benching Reed for Coker? I don't think it's crazy. No, I don't think it's crazy, but would I do it? No. Let's see here. Sepinen sends in a question. Yeah, Sepinen with 2 S's. Says, pick one in a full PPR. Chuba Hubbard, Rashad White, Ridley, Tillman, or Coleman. Yeah, Chuba Hubbard is the auto start. Thank you. Gucci Han Louis Han says, my guy, Taysom worth a start over Kincaid? No, not in a full PPR. Absolutely not. Taysom would have to score 2 rushing touchdowns in order to be able to surpass the potential numbers of Kincaid today. Thank you. Now, there's a possibility that Taysom Hill could be highly relevant. No Kendre Miller, no Jamal Williams. So what does that mean? Taysom Hill is going to be the RB2 of this offense. But again, unless he catches a couple passes or scores an automatic touchdown, it is very difficult to start him when, Alvin Kamara probably does majority of the damage today. That's why Alvin Kamara has moved to being my number 1 running back because of course, Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams both out today. All right, I Shine 101 sends in a question, says, half PPR, 10-team league. I have 1 running back and 1 flex between JSN, Hunt, Pollard, and Pittman. Yeah, as of this group in a half PPR, I'm playing both running backs. I would play Hunt and Pollard full way, no stops, easy peasy. All right, Zishan Ali sends in a question, says, with Amari Cooper out, let's see here, Bigsby, Coleman, or ETN? I would play Keon Coleman over the bunch. Thank you. Rush sends in a question, says, reigning in Green Bay, Love or Addison in a full PPR? You're still going to play Love there, for sure. Absolutely. You're not playing Addison. No, thank you. Again, Addison, Maybe if he gets lucky, catches 3 passes every game. That's it. That's all he is capable of. That is not enough workload to play him over a quarterback. Hank Hennig sends in a question. Says still confident with Tracy over Mooney in a full PPR? If I'm not mistaken, let me go to my rankings. Tracy. Let's see. Tracy's there. And where's Mooney? Mooney. Where are you? Yeah, I have Tracy considerably ahead of Mooney. So yes, I'm still very much so comfortable with it. If you want to play Mooney because you think he's going to score against the Dallas Cowboys, then you would play him. Again, I don't know if there's a touchdown implicated within the conversation. That's why I'm a little bit less kind of upside worthy in terms of ranking him higher. So I'd rather just play Tracy and take the vast majority of the overall touches he's capable of, accruing, and the potential goal line backstand that he could end up having. All right, MC sent in the question. We answered that earlier with Downs and Tyreek Hill. Rogo sends in a follow-up, says, I just picked up Sutton and Philadelphia. Was able to keep Denver. Wanda Robinson, Jerry Jeudy, Adunze are still available. Did I make the right choice? Yeah, those are great overall pickups. Play Philadelphia and play Sutton over all those other options at wide receiver. Thank you. Jeff Ricklin sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, Javonte Williams, Jalen Coker, or Keenan Allen for my last. Okay, so as of those available options, Jalen Coker is my highest ranked. Number 2 would be probably playing Keenan Allen. The number 3 would be Javonte Williams. Those would be the 3 in which I go about it. Struggling to pick between them since they are all near each other in the flex rankings. Yeah, look, as of right now, let's see, where do I have Coker as of the group? Yeah, they're literally back to back to back. I don't think I play Javonte Williams there. I think I actually just play Coker, and I roll with the potential of him. So with all of the secondary members injured at cornerback, they're going to have to send their third string cornerback to play against Leggett. So then the third string cornerback is going to be lined up against Coker, which makes him an even better potential play in that circumstance. So that's why I'd probably go with him out of the group there. Yeah, Jeff, that's the way I'd probably suggest it. Now, as for that'd be good to go. Thank you. Broderick Hart sends a follow-up. Says, in a 16-team full PPR, I have Achane, Jacobs, Dowdle, I've seen Brown, Dell, Pittman, Shakir. I'm looking for more pop with wide receiver, hence a trade for Chase. No? Trading for Chase is not an issue, but what you're giving away in order to get him in return, I don't like the fact that you're getting back the 2 Tampa Bay running backs. I like their upcoming schedule, but again, you can't really start them both every week. You'd have to the issue is you're going to have to play Achane and then one of them. And if you pick the wrong one every week, it will be a disaster. That is the only issue I have. Otherwise, I could see why you would make the trade, and I can understand the value. But otherwise, I mean, again, I'd probably just keep what you have. In a 16-team league, what you have is ridiculous. And I don't think I'm willing to break and start giving away value when you don't need to. Tyler Wilcox says, in a full PPR, pick 1, Tracy, Otten, or Eckler. Let me see where I have them ranked according to one another. So let's see where Control F Otten sits in the rankings. Okay, so Tracy's ahead of him. But where do I have Tracy in comparison to Eckler in a full PPR? I would assume, considering I have moved Eckler, where did I move Eckler? I moved him behind Tracy in a half PPR. Yeah, so Tracy's probably still the play in this circumstance. Yeah. So as of right now, to answer your question, Tyler Wilcox, I'm playing Tracy 1, Eckler 2, Otten 3 in a full PPR. Thank you. Hi Sven sends in a question. Says, is BTJ still lineup? Yes. Is he still a lineup lock over Shakir and Worthy? I would say yes, he still is. Thank you. Dave sends in a question. Says, Brian Robinson's out. Bigsby, Rashad White, or Lockett in the flex in a half PPR. Let me see where I have Lockett in comparison to those options. Let's go to the half PPR rankings. Control F Lockett. All right, so I currently have Bigsby as the highest ranked player of the bunch in a half PPR scoring format. Thank you. So it would go Bigsby, Rashad White, Lockett in that exact order, Dave. All right, Toast sends in a question. It says, starting Chase Brown in the flex over Waddle and DJ Moore. Another league running back, have Montgomery, Hunt, Chase Brown, and Pollard start 2. Yeah, I'd start both Pollard and Chase Brown there. Thank you. Jerry Gonzalez says, number 1, Coker, number 1, Coker, Allen, Addison, Taysom Hill, flex PPR. Coker's the number 1. That would be the play. Number 2 question, Tillman or Tracy in the flex. I would play Tracy there. Number 3 question, Myers, BTJ, Stevenson, Tracy in the flex. I'd play BTJ there. Thank you. So again, Coker, Tracy, BTJ. Appreciate it. Mike sends in a question. Says, in an 8-team half PPR 1 flex, do I play Pitts or Otten? In a half PPR, if I'm not mistaken, I have Otten ahead of Pitts. If you want to play Pitts over Otten, I have no issue with it, but I do have Cade Otten ahead of him. Again, the rankings that are going to pop up over here typically will give you the indicator as to how I would go ahead and approach the interpositional rankings of these players. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. We have a question that comes in from Jack, who says, non-PPR, Madison, Ramondre, Olave, or London? Start one. I'm playing London there. Thank you. K Visionary sends in a question, says, PPR for Eckler or Zay Flowers? I'm going to play Eckler over Zay Flowers there. Well, actually, you know what? Hold on, wait. Let me just confirm this. Let me confirm this before I just talk out of my ass. Where do I have Tracy? Because Tracy's pretty much the back pocket. Yeah. He would be one spot technically ahead of Flowers. One physical spot. He'd be number 38 compared to number 39. But I would take the Eckler, side of that overall conversation. I like the potential of it. All right, moving on to a question we have from Isaiah Moore, who says, flex Hawkinson or Javonte Williams? Honestly, I'm going to flex Hawkinson there. Thank you. All right, let's see. Chalateco09 sends in a question. Says, start DJ Moore, Xavier Legette, Tyrone Tracy in a flex full PPR. As of those available options, Tyrone Tracy is my starter. Thank you very much. Tom sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, 3 flex between Wanda Robinson. In the flex with 2 E's. I thought it was 3. Sorry. Wanda Robinson or Eckler? It's playing Eckler without a doubt in my mind. Johnny Moss says, in a full PPR, Reed or Otton? I'd rather play Otton there. And or Myers or Amari Cooper. Add Myers for Amari Cooper. Yeah, let's do that. I don't mind that at all. Twisted Folk sends in a question. Says, just bouncing a take on Jaden Reed off of you. First week, his ankle isn't on the injury report in a while. Okay. Boom today after weeks of being unhealthy. Decoy, I don't know. Again, if I knew the answer, I would tell you the answer. I don't objectively know the answer. I am hoping that Jaden Reed plays well. Again, the weather and the fact that he just does not let's see here. Where does Jaden Reed's target counts? I'm not going to even count last week because honestly, last week doesn't count because we didn't have a quarterback. His typical targets, right? 4, 6, 6, 8, 6, 2, 6. If you're only going to get 6 targets, you have very, very, very minimal chance of making the most upside of plays, unless he's making a huge play down the field. So there is very, very, very little room for error, which is why, again, with the weather as is and Jordan Love's injury, I'm just man, I don't even want to deal with it. But again, I can see the merit in playing him. Absolutely. I can see the value. If you want to play him, don't let me talk you out of it. If you want to play him, again, it is your final decision. Play him and let's hope for the best. Because again, I want that game to be a shootout. For fantasy purposes, of course. Barza Gaming sends out a question. Says, full PPR. I need a flex between Jaden Reed and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's my suggestion. Thank you. YG says, Kincaid or Gesicki? I'd rather play Gesicki this week. Next question, Amari Cooper or with Higgins out? Okay, got it. Yeah, I'm going to play Gesicki there. Blizzy sends in a question. Says, 10-man full PPR. I need to fill my RB2 and a flex spot between Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Swift, and Josh Downs. Okay, in a full PPR, I'm playing DeAndre Swift and I'm playing Josh Downs as your RB2 and your flex. One has to sit. Yeah, so Kareem Hunt is sitting this week. Thank you, Blizzy. Choco sends in a thumbs up. Thank you, Choco. If you have a question, I'll check it in the chat right now. Pyro, you sent in another question, nothing attached to it. So let's look up Choco in the chat, and we'll look up Pyro as well. Outside of that, Ernesto sends in a question. Thank you, Ernesto. It says PPR flex, Parker Washington or Yoshi Voss? I have Parker Washington ranked higher. Bengals have 3 inactive wide receivers. Who's inactive besides T. Higgins? Let me go to Twitter real quick and let me look at the inactives list. Cincinnati Bengals. What does the official inactive list look like? Okay, so they have T. Higgins out. They have Charlie Jones, who does not play football. Jermaine Burton. Okay, that does not make a big deal. No. Jermaine Burton is typically vying for targets from Trent Irwin. So it's not going to be, no, it's not an issue. Parker Washington's still to play there. Thank you. Okay, let's continue on. Let me see if Choco sent in anything in the live chat. Nothing in there. Okay, we're going to continue on. Pyro, anything? All right, I see Pyro's question. Says, I messed up, Andrew. I meant to send the full question. No, you're good. If just do me a favor, Pyro, just type it in the live chat right now, if you can. Can you cook something up with discounted pick on UD? Says 129 or 219 Pyro. Different Pyro, but again, If you want to see what I cooked up, go to my Hidden Gems video from earlier this week, the thumbnail with Mike Gesicki on it. Fast forward about 20 minutes into the video and look at the 2 overall plays that I had at the back end of that video. That would be my immediate suggestion as to the picks that I specifically like the most. Pyro said, I made a mistake on the original question. I meant full PPR. Flex Pitts, Hunt, Montgomery, or Mooney. Got it. So let me see where I have them ranked in a full PPR accordingly, and then we'll go ahead and get to the answer. So let's see where I have Pitts in comparison to the bunch. Pitts. Okay, so Kyle Pitts sits there, which is ahead of Mooney, but David Montgomery is still ahead of the bunch. So David Montgomery, and so is Kareem Hunt. So David Montgomery and Kareem Hunt would be the 1-2 combo. Montgomery number 1. Thank you. All right, continuing on, let me go ahead and see if I can catch up here. We have a question that came in from, we took care of, all right, so let's see here. All right, so we had a question from G Santos who says, McNichols, Etienne, or Bigsby in a PPR? I'm going to play Bigsby there. Thank you. Gabriel Martin sends in a question, says, I need a flex and an RB2 between J.K. Dobbins, Ramondre Stevenson, Darnell Mooney, and Khalil Shakir in a standard scoring league. Play both running backs. Both J.K. Dobbins and Darnell Mooney, both J.K. Dobbins and Ramondre Stevenson are the primary plays that I would suggest. Thank you. Justin sends in a question, says, full PPR, McConkey, Bucky, or Dowdle? It's going to be McConkey there. Thank you. Gildan Warrior says, in chat. Okay, Gildan. Gildan, retype it. Thank you. Omar G sends in a question, says, full PPR, Pittman, Madison, Mooney in the flex. Let me see where I have Pittman in comparison to Madison, because that's really just the conversation. Pittman is there, and Madison. Yeah, I have Pittman ahead of Madison ever so slightly, but I do. So Pittman will be the suggestion as for that potential flex play. As for your next question, I'm starting down. Okay, yeah, cool. So basically, you're kind of all in on the Colts offense, but again, it's a great matchup, and Joe Flacco elevates them mightily. Gucci Han, Louis Han says, my bad, I didn't hear. Kincaid, way better play than Taysom in a full PPR? Yes. I like the matchup over Dalton. Yeah, you're good to go. You like the matchup over Dalton Kincaid? Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Again, so basically my answer, Gucci Han, was primarily it would require Taysom Hill to score a touchdown base minimum and then have a bunch of yards to be able to outscore Kincaid in a full PPR, in my opinion. Now, it's not out of the realm of possibility because Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams are both out this week, but that's why I primarily moved up Kamara within my rankings rather than moving up Taysom Hill much, because again, even though he will be the RB2, it is very sketchy to be able to predict touchdown upside in his circumstance. So I just lean towards the idea of Kamara being the primary benefactor of that situation. So I'd rather just play Kincaid in the full PPR. Avery Strauss sends in a question, says Chuba, Connor, Jacobs, Tracy in the flex. If I'm just playing one of them, it's just going to be Jacobs there. WGE Records says half PPR flex, Cade Otton or Jacoby Myers. Let me see who I have ranked higher in a half PPR. Otton or Myers. I have Otton ahead of Myers in a half PPR. Thank you. Okay, let me go back into the live chat and see if we were looking for Gildan Warrior. Gildan, you there still, maybe? Perhaps? Until Gildan comes back, we're going to continue to answer questions. Alrighty, we have a question that came in from Elseway, who says, I forgot to mention, I also have JSN. Is he worth the drop for Dowdle? Yes, that would be probably the most worthy droppable option. My running backs are Montgomery, Connor, Hunt, Pacheco. I mean, yeah, it just gives you an additional piece of depth that maybe you could trade it within the upcoming week. So yes, I would be willing to swap that for JSN. It's real time, or rel time sends in a question, says in a full PPR, pick 2, Pollard, Hubbard, Myers, Tillman. Yeah, give me both the running backs. Give me Hubbard and Pollard. Thank you. Messiah says in a full PPR, should I flex Shakir, Connor, or Hunt? As of those 3, I'm going to play Connor. Thank you. Daniel Lundquist sends in a question, nothing attached to it, but I think I see something in the live chat from you. Yep, I see it. Says, just in case my question disappears. No, you're good. I see it. Do I run Broncos defense with streamer quarterback Nix, Darnold, Carr, Stafford, etc., or keep Baker in and run a spare slot as Kansas City defense? Okay, so if you... Okay. I think the comparative value, the separation of value between the quarterbacks is enough to where I'd rather just swap quarterback. But if it forces you to have to play Denver's defense, I drop Denver's defense and I go pick up Kansas City. And then I'd also play Knicks over Mayfield. So I don't mind dropping Broncos defense. Not at all. So if I was in your position, I'd drop them, pick up KC, I'd play them, and I'd play Knicks over Mayfield. That's the way I go about it, Daniel. Rockout says, in a pick 2, Hunt, Tracy, Marvin Harrison, Downs, full PPR. As of right now, in a full PPR, it is Tracy and Downs. Thank you. Big Al 9 says, Love at 425 or Prescott at 1 p.m. weather conditions. Yeah, if you're worried about the weather, you could just play Prescott. I don't have an issue with it. Again, I don't think the weather will be that significant to where they're unplayable quarterbacks, but in the circumstance, if you feel more comfortable with Dak Prescott indoors against Atlanta, then go for it. I don't have an issue with that. All right, Laurent sends in a question, says, Hunt, Olave, Dobbins, Downs, rank please. I'm going to assume this is a full PPR question. If it is in fact a full PPR question, the way that I would rank these players is number 1, Olave, number 2, Downs, number 3, Hunt, number 4, Dobbins. That's the way I go about it. Then your next question, Knicks, Darnold, Dak, that is on screen ranked. I'm playing Darnold 1, Knicks 2, and Dak 3. Thank you. Ariel sends in a question. Says Ridley, Hopkins, Dowdle, Ferguson. I need a wide receiver and a flex. As of those available options, if it's a full PPR, the wide receiver is Ridley and the flex is Ferguson. If it's a half PPR, then at that point we can go Ridley and Dowdle. Thank you. FF sends in a question. Says in a standard, Brian Robinson is out. I need a flex between J.K. Dobbins, JSN, Xavier Worthy, and Likely. Yeah, so J.K. Dobbins takes the spot in a standard scoring format. Pick up Lockett or Gesicki. Ertz, McNichols, Keenan Allen, No, I mean, look, at this point, I think you're fine with what you have. Just play J.K. Dobbins in your flex. Thank you. Flawless says, no Hunter Henry in the rankings. He is my number 17 at tight end. He is one spot behind Kmet. So I prefer to play Kmet over him against the Arizona Cardinals matchup. But if you would prefer to play Hunter Henry, I have no issue with that at all. Again, they're one spot separated. And in terms of my overall rankings, in terms of projections, it's less than a point separating the two. El Memo 26 says, in a full PPR, Tracy or Tillman, I'd rather play Tracy. Thank you. Stupid Boy, Clever Girl says, in a 0.25 PPR, pick 2 between Puka, DJ Moore, Shakir, and Hopkins. I'm going to play Puka and DJ Moore. Thank you. Moving on to Yahai Nas sends in a question. Full PPR. Start 2, Dobbins, Reed, Connor. I'll take both running backs. Give me Dobbins and Connor. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Sag, who says, with Cooper out, I must drop either Mason, I have McCaffrey, or Bigsby to pick up Alec Pierce, Demarcus Robinson, or Slayton. Yeah, as of right now, I would drop Mason. And out of those 3 wide receiver options, I would pick up and play Demarcus Robinson. Thank you. Tariq Taylor sends in a question, says full PPR, Kincaid, Gesicki, or Hunter Henry. Out of those 3 options, in a full PPR, I have Gesicki ranked the highest. Thank you. Mugiwara, no ramen, says, hey, half PPR, and had Brian Robinson starting. I have Chubb plus Irving benched with the option of a trade of Chubb for Pollard and Mooney. Wait, what? Someone is willing to give you Pollard and Mooney for Chubb. Take the deal. Take Pollard. Start him today. Absolutely, that's what I would do. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Shajan says, any first quarter underdog plays? I haven't even looked at them, guys. I'm going to be honest. Yesterday was not home all day. I have not looked at it today because I literally woke up and immediately started streaming. I have no clue. I mean, I can look at it right now in terms of just a quick glance. There are only specific players that I like within the pick anyway. So unless something pops up in terms of first quarter receiving that I'm really excited about, like right now, I'd be willing to take first quarter receiving yards on Achane. I'd be willing to take first quarter receiving yards on... Does CeeDee Lamb have a number? If he doesn't have a number, then don't worry about it. Let's see here. What else is potentially implicated? Yeah, they moved up the numbers. They're such sharp numbers now. It just becomes sketchy at this point. Yeah, so like the 2 that I legitimately would roll with, I'd go like Achane higher on his receiving yards. I take Gesicki higher on his receiving yards in the first quarter. I like CeeDee Lamb higher than his receiving yards in the first quarter as well. Those are the options that I roll with if it was me. As of right now, just a quick glance. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question from Major Arms, who says Brian Robinson Jr. is out. Tracy or Tillman in the flex? Yeah, I'm playing Tracy there. Thank you. Cavalry says messaged in Discord. Okay, let me see if I can get it on my phone really quickly. Let's see here. Let's go to Discord. While we do that, Shark Boy says PPR, 3 wide receivers. We have 2 flex. We have Moore, Ladd, Marvin Harrison, Flowers, Downs, Pollard. Cool. If I'm starting 2 flex, wait, okay. Is this 3 wide receiver and 2 flex? So basically we're starting 5 of the 6 players. Like the 2 flex options are Pollard. Okay, I see where your issue is. So if we're starting 3 wide receivers, it's Downs, it is Marvin Harrison, and it is Flowers. And then you are flexing Moore and Pollard. Thank you. Okay, so Cavalry was asking, you don't think Singletary has value as a handcuff? No, I don't. Yes, I would make a move for Shakir. Saw week 9 rankings. It says you have Sutton over Flowers. Yep. Is that the move this week? Yes, I would make that swap. Absolutely, Cavalry. Yeah, I would always say, when in doubt, follow the rankings. The rankings are always the rule of thumb in that scenario. Thank you. But yes, Singletary's not worth it. I'd swap for Shakir and I'd play Sutton over the Flowers. Thank you. All right, we move on to Rogo, who says, do I have a solid week 9 team in half PPR? We have Matthew Stafford, Devontae Smith, Sutton, Gibbs, David Montgomery, Otten, Swift, Cyber. Yeah, I mean, again, I have no issue with this team at all. I have no complaints. I'd wish that you could start Hunt, but again, you just don't have enough roster spots to be able to afford to do so. But yeah, I think it's a great looking team. Thank you, Rogo. Jay Cruz says, London, Chuba, or Eckler in a standard flex. Chuba Hubbard's my suggestion there. Thank you. Because if you're getting 0 points per reception, I'd rather just get the yardage and the touchdown potential upside. Hodge sends in a question. It says, start 1 in a full PPR. Madison, Bigsby, Bucky, Javonte. Okay, we got a lot of potential options here, but my preferred of the group in a full PPR is Madison by a pretty large margin. Frosty sends in a question. Thank you, Frosty. He says, greetings and salutations. Sit 1 in a PPR. Waddle, Sutton, Pittman, Myers. Waddle takes the bench. Thank you. Ryan Tank sends in a question. Says, Brian Thomas Jr. or D-Hop rest of season? It's not even close. It's Brian Thomas Jr. Thank you. Safety Net sends in a question. Says, Justice Hill versus Denver or Chestnut versus New England in a half PPR? I have Chestnut ranked higher. Thank you. Will Moe sends in a question. Full PPR, Worthy, Coker, Christian Watson, or Sutton? Sutton is the highest ranked. Thank you. Shung Bool sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, flex Ferguson, Dobbs, or Bigsby? I'm playing Ferguson there. Thank you. Jonathan McMaster. Jonathan, long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Says, in a full PPR, I need 2 running backs and a flex between Tyron Tracy, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Khalil Shakir, Cade Otton. I have Tyron Tracy, Montgomery, and Hunt right now. So basically, we're asking if whether or not we would play Hunt, Tracy, and Montgomery over Shakir and Otton, which the answer is yes. So leave the 3 running backs in as is. You're good to go, Jonathan. Thank you. Anthony Zarati sends in a question. Says, pick 1 between Myers, Dobbins, Reed, and Stevenson. Assuming it's a half or full PPR, I'm playing Myers there. Thank you. Okay, catching up ever so slowly. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You guys being extremely patient with me. We move on to a question from David Reynolds, who says, Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnston, Cole Kmet in a full PPR. Let me check my rankings in terms of where I have Kmet in comparison. All right, so Cole Kmet and Elijah Moore. Oh, wow, that's relatively closely ranked. Wait, what the heck just happened? Okay, there it is. So Elijah Moore is 2 spots ahead of Cole Kmet. 76 compared to 78 in a full PPR. So I'm playing Elijah Moore there. It's funny how you guys ask these questions and they're literally ranked right next to each other. It is, it's so interesting how that works. Edgar sends in a question. Says, Mooney or Myers, higher ceiling? Yeah, I think it's just Myers, objectively. He is, like, outside of outside of Bowers, no one is competing for targets outside of him. So, really, it is going to be Bowers, then Myers. As for the Atlanta offense, there's always the potential where it's going to be London, Pitts, the potential of the running game, Omega taking over, and then even Ray McLeod out-targeting him, then Mooney. There's always the potential of that. Now, Mooney could be the number 1 by the end of this week, but considering the additional threats of other options, I'm just going to rather play Myers. And I do believe he has a higher ceiling, potentially. Chris Glassel, sends in a question. Full PPR, start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex between St. Brown, Chris Olave, Josh Downs, Puka Nacua, and David Montgomery. You got a lot of great options here. So the way that I go about it is playing your studs just straight away, pretty comfortably. I would like to play St. Brown and Puka Nacua, and I would like to flex in a full PPR Chris Olave. Now, does that leave David Montgomery and Josh Downs on your bench who are both going to score 15 plus points? Absolutely. But that is that is the scenario you are in. I just play your studs. I play St. Brown, Olave, and I play Nakua. Thank you. Medina 2197 sends in a question with the LA Dodgers logo. Had a baby 2024 champs. Let's do it. I mean, again, man, Freddie Freeman carried the shit out of our team. What an absolute machine. All right. Coleman or Waddle? I will play Keon Coleman. Thank you. Craig Rapp sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, Tracy, Stevenson, or Mooney? I'm going to play Tracy there. Thank you. Terod Taylor sends in a question. Full PPR, James Conner or Hubbard? I'd rather play Hubbard. Next question, Flowers or Waddle? I'd rather play Flowers. Thank you. C. Crip sends in a question. Says, I need 2 in a full PPR. Hunt, Tracy, Downs, Jacobs, and Connor. Out of those available options, Downs and Jacobs are my suggestion. C. Crip, thank you. Y sends in a question. Says, who has more upside in a full PPR, Pollard or DeAndre Hopkins? It is Pollard. Thank you. Again, the New England Patriots have allowed over 110 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown to each backfield in each of the last 5 games. That is the minimum production they've allowed. They are going to get torched on the ground. What the Titans do best more than anything is run the ball. They've got a great offensive line coach, and they know how to get into into situations to find a lot of running lanes for Pollard. All right, let's see here. A question from Connor who says, should I trade Madison for his Dowdle? I mean, I don't think that I think I'm okay with Madison the rest of the season. I don't have an issue with that. Madison's perfectly fine on your team. I'd say they have equivalent value. I'd say that it'd be a lateral move more than anything. But I think they're both relatively equal, and I'm fine just holding on to Madison for now. Itoza sends in a question, says, Hubbard, BTJ, Dobbins, Tracy in the flex. As of those available, let me see where I have Hubbard in comparison. Like, let's say, for example, it's a half PPR. Hubbard is the highest ranked of the bunch. So that's the direction I would go in. Again, under the assumption it's a half PPR. If it's a full PPR, at that point it goes to like BTJ probably being the starter. But considering the risk of like having to wait for BTJ, I would just play Hubbard in that position as well, because they're back-to-back ranked in a full PPR as well. So I just play Hubbard in both scenarios. All right, moving on to a question that comes in from Rocky T, who says, should I start Travis Kelce or Kelsey in the flex position? Or Tracy, excuse me. Yeah, I would play Kelsey over Tracy this week. Thank you. Angel Salgado sends in a question, says, Eckler or Pittman? Let me see where I have them ranked. So, like, where's Michael Pittman? Okay. And then let me see him in a full PPR. Where's Michael Pittman? All right. So the way I currently have it structured, okay. Control F. Can this thing work? What the heck is going on here? No wonder. I don't even... What? How the fuck did that happen? Okay. Hold up. Everybody stay calm. Hold up. All right. Yes. As of right now, in half or full PPR, does not matter. To answer your question, I would play Eckler over Pittman. Thank you. CS Derek sends in a question. Says, with Pollard playing through foot injury and Chase Brown playing with no Moss, do I switch them out? Yes, I would play Chase Brown over Pollard. Or switch CB for Chuba Hubbard or McConkey. No. I just play Chase Brown over the bunch. Thank you. Jordan Walker sends in a question. Says, Tyrone Tracy or Brian Thomas Jr. full PPR? Between the two of them, I have Brian Thomas Jr. ranked higher. Thank you. Kiwi Sportsmage says, in a half PPR, Jaden Reed, Evan Ingram, JSN, Tillman, or Dunze. Out of that group, I'm playing Evan Ingram. Thank you. Nick Pitara sends in a question. Says, Leggett or Dobbs? I have Dobbs ahead of Leggett. With the weather concerns and the target compensation has me worried with Dobbs. Okay, yeah. So many injuries with the Saints. I don't have an issue with that at all. If you want to play Leggett, let's go for it, Nick. I'm confident with that. I'd be willing to support you on that overall measure. Harsha sends in a question. Says, Olave or Swift in the flex, full PPR? Olave or Swift? Oof, that's really close. Let me see where I have Swift in comparison. Pretty sure it's going to be Olave. Yep, it's Olave. Thank you. All right, so we'll play Olave in a full PPR over Swift. Rusty Wright sends in a question. Says, Tracy over Rico without Zeke? Yes, Tracy's over Rico. Zeke wasn't going to play a factor anyway. We already knew that, right? Flex Rico over Reed? I would. Zashawn Ali says, Coker or Keenan Allen? I'd rather play Jalen Coker. Thank you. We Buy Homes sends in a question. Says, non-PPR, in the flex, would you start Kareem Hunt, Jaden Reed, Smitty, or Pollard? In a non-PPR, I'm playing Pollard 1, Hunt 2, Smitty 3, Jaden Reed 4. Next question. Oh, actually, that's not even a question. My other starters are JJ London. Yeah. So, again, Pollard and Hunt would be the 1-2 combo. Whichever one of the two you prefer to play. If you're worried about Hunt, then you just play. If you're worried about Pollard, you play Hunt. And, again, one of the two running backs have to start in a non-PPR format. Javier Hernandez says in a half PPR, pick 2, Tillman, Keon Coleman, Laporta. Give me both the receivers. Give me Tillman and give me Coleman. Thank you. Keon Coleman. Thank you. Okay, again, we are 20 minutes from kickoff. Thank you very much for being patient. We're still trying to catch up on some of these questions. We had a question just sent in from Logan Sandman Sanders. It almost feels like you're like a wrestler. Logan. Actually, no, that's almost like a UFC nickname. Anyway, Logan. Logan says in a full PPR, pick 1, Chase Brown, Cooper Kupp, or Josh Jacobs. I will take Cooper Kupp in a full PPR. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Rusty Wright. Says, worried about BTJ's injury? Sub in Coker with Quentin Johnston? No, man, I'm just going to roll it. I'd be willing to go get Parker Washington off of waivers or anything else. I'm not willing to swap that major as of right now. OJ Running says, drop Tillman for Michael Pittman Jr. rest of the season. Yes, I would. Start Pittman today over McConkey. Yes, as well. Jorge Perez sends in a follow-up, nothing attached to it. Jorge, hopefully you typed in the live chat. If you did, that'd be gratefully received on my end. Jorge says, hi, Andrew. In a full PPR, should I drop Dicker for Reichard? Also, have Bengals. How do you think they'll do today? I think they should be fine. I mean, again, the offense for the Raiders just like to turn over the ball. And they also don't have the greatest offensive line. If the pass rush is getting to them, turnovers will be caused, and enough of a fantasy point upside will be, attained. Now, as for Reichard over Dicker, again, Dicker's been great. Reichard's been great. It's just a matter of like which one do you prefer between the two. I like them both. I just think that Reichard has a higher chance of scoring because of the matchup against the Colts being able to move the ball consistently. Okay, scrolling all the way down. All right, so we're good to go there. Continuing on, we had a question from Mo Money who says, send Puka, Devontae, Deontay for Amon-Ra and Connor. Yes. I'm cool with that if you need the running back depth, but only if you need the running back depth in Connor. Mo Money. Ideen sends in a question. It says, Jordan Addison, Alexander Madison or Coker, pick 2 in a 0.69 PPR. Yeah, the two that I would suggest playing would be Alexander Madison and Jalen Coker. Those are your two best plays, Ideen. Thank you. Let's see. Mugiwara sends in a question. Says, Mooney plus Hubbard or Pollard plus Mooney. As of today, I'd rather play the Pollard-Mooney combo. Thank you. My allergies are killing me. Okay. Sorry about that. I was scratching my throat. Continuing on. Raul Dang sends in a question. Says, Njoku, Ingram, or Hawkinson in a half PPR. Again, the half PPR rankings are on screen right there. Njoku is the highest ranked, Ingram second, Hawkinson third. At the tight end, and Downs or Terry at half PPR. Again, Terry McLaurin will be preferred over Downs in a half PPR. Colts should be throwing all game, yes, but in a half PPR, Terry just has significantly higher upside for yardage and has just as much upside in terms of touchdowns. So in the overall combination, Terry is the more preferred receiver. But again, rankings right there, they're both very closely ranked, as you can see. T. Perez 347 sends in a question. Let me see if I can find it in the chat. 347. T. Perez says, in a full PPR, choose one between Javonte, Dowdle, and Rashad White and Dobbs. Okay, let me see where I have Dobbs in comparison to White and Dowdle. Okay, Dobbs is there. Dowdle is there, and Rashad White is ahead of them all. Rashad White will be my suggestion. Thank you very much, T. Perez. I appreciate it. Okay, we continue on with the next question. Let's see here. T. Perez, we have Juan Sardina, who says, in a PPR 2 running back, 2 flex situation, we have Bijan, Hunt, Connor, David Montgomery, Downs, Hubbard, Reed, JSN, and Addison. Okay, so in a PPR scoring format, the 2 running backs that I'm playing are Bijan Robinson, and I'm following it up with playing Chuba Hubbard. And then in your flex this week, I'm going to play Josh Downs and James Conner. So Bijan, Hubbard, Downs, Connor. Thank you. FRS sends in a question. Nothing attached to it. FRS. Hopefully you typed in the chat. FRS says, in a full PPR, would you start Kincaid or Hawkinson? I'd rather have Hawkinson in my lineup. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Rajo, who says, pick one in a full PPR. Walker, Kupp, Olave. Let me see where I have Walker ranked accordingly. Kenneth Walker. So I have Walker at 19. I have Olave at 20. I have Kupp at 22. So Walker is the highest ranked of the bunch. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Adam Amar, who says, where is... Okay, dude. Yeah, we get it. Jalen Coker getting 25? That'd be crazy. Thank you, Adam. We're not... I've heard the... anyway, moving on, Adam. Billy Jack says, start 2 at wide receiver. Shakir, BTJ, Reed. Yeah, Shakir and BTJ are my suggestions. Thank you. If, in fact, BTJ doesn't play, then you can just pivot, but he's going to play. Stephen Bowman says, hey, Andrew, I need help filling in my wide receiver. Okay. / running back flex spot. We have Waddle, Dobbs, or Javonte Williams. I'm going to play Dobbs out of those group. Half a point per carry? Never mind. We're playing Javonte Williams. Geez, if you can get a half a point per carry, let's say he runs the ball 10 times, that's 5 points. It's literally like a touchdown implicated. At that point, I'll just play Javonte Williams in that circumstance, Steven. Red Sox 2240 says, in a 10-team PPR league, pick 2 between Marvin Harrison, Jaden Reed McConkey, and Romeo Dobbs. Out of that group, I am playing McConkey and Marvin Harrison. Thank you. Rod Taylor sends in a question, says, full PPR, Zay Flowers, Tillman, Wandale Robinson. Zay Flowers is my suggestion as my number 1 option there. Thank you. Underscore like the jeans says, in a PPR, if Jacobs doesn't play, which he will, but anyway, if he doesn't play, do I flex his backup Wilson or Laporta? No, you would play Emmanuel Wilson in his stead. Mo Money says, drop Deontay Johnson, D-Hop, or Mason in order to make room for Hawkinson. If it was my choice, I'd legitimately drop Mason. I'm done with it at this point. I cannot start him. Unless they tell me that he's gotten shoulder reconstruction, I'm not trusting it. T. Perez, we took care of that one earlier. Okay, good to go. Continuing on, let's try to catch up here. We had a question that came in from The Only Way is Rugby. Hopefully you typed in the chat. Let's see here. Rugby. The Only Way is Rugby says J.K. Dobbins or Ladd. Okay, McConkey. Damn, didn't send with Super Chat. You're good, my man. I got it. What's your scoring format? Look, that's the thing. You were so preoccupied by making a ludicious, or I don't even know what the heck kind of words you typed in there. You put Ladavius and you put J.K. Doggins. Like, I like the names. These are good, but I don't even know what your scoring format is, brother. Like, now I'm going to have to go look at both. Let's see here. Let's go look at Dobbins in a half PPR. Dobbins is ahead of Ladd in a half PPR. In a full PPR, let's see here. I still have Dobbins. Never mind. Dobbins in both scenarios. Thank you very much. Keep it moving. All right. We had a question that comes in from Daryl Kane, who says, in a PPR, Murray or Stafford? I'd rather play Kyler Murray this week. Next question, Kraft or Kincaid? I'd rather play... If it's a full PPR, I'd rather play Kincaid. Next question after that, Bengals or Bears? Again, rankings are on screen as of right now. I'm pretty sure I have the Bengals ahead of the Bears by a pretty significant margin. I do. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that was sent in from Poncho's Palace. Says PPR, play Puka or Chase Brown in the flex? Let me see where I have them ranked. Full PPR, Puka. It's Puka Nakua. I do not have Chase Brown ahead of him. Puka Nakua is my start. But again, if you want to play Chase Brown, they're both in my top 20 in my flex ranking, so they should both be great plays. Adam Amar says Addison, Ridley, Coker, Leggett, Judy, full PPR. Leggett would be number 1. Actually, no, Ridley's number 1. That is the play. It is actually just Ridley there, Adam. Rajo says Walker over Gibbs this week? No. In no scoring format do I have Walker over Gibbs. But Walker's still a really good play this week. Anakin Woman and the Children says in a question, says, with Brian Robinson Jr. as a surprise inactive, I've got Eckler ready to go with Cooper out. Fire up Coleman at wide receiver 2 or Waddle or Tillman. No, you would. Let me actually confirm this. So if I go here, let me see where I had the adjusted ranking for Coleman. Coleman is there. Yeah. So Coleman would be your number 2 wide receiver. And yes, you would play Eckler. You're good to go, Anakin. Thank you. CS Derek sends in a question. Says start 4, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex, and a full PPR. We have Pollard, BTJ, Ladd McConkey, Chuba, Chase Brown. Sorry for asking basically the same question. No, you're good, my man. Again, I'm here to help. If I can help, I'm going to try my best to do so. Start 4 between the following options. Okay. So of the available that we have, I'm going to try to play as your RB1, Pollard. Actually, no, scratch that. Chase Brown is your RB1. Your wide receiver 1 is BTJ. And your 2 flex options are both running backs. So the 4 total will be Chuba Hubbard, BTJ, Pollard, and Chase Brown. Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, BTJ, Pollard, Ladd McConkey takes the bench. Thank you, CS Derek. Richie Moreno sends in a question, says half PPR, pick 1 for the flex spot. Tracy, Devontae Smith, or Downs. Let me see where I have I think it's Devontae Smith. Let me just confirm this. Half PPR. Devontae Smith. I have him ahead of. Yeah. Devontae Smith is my suggestion there as of right now. Thank you. Alrighty. Let's see here. Moving on to the next question. We have a question from Wakil. Naim Wakil, who says, pick 3 PPR, Montgomery, BTJ, Marvin Harrison, Dowdle. Yeah, give me the first 3 names. Give me Marvin Harrison, give me BTJ, give me Montgomery. Thank you. Pitch Herndon says Chase Brown or Smitty in a PPR. Chase Brown will be my suggestion there. Maurice Parker says in a 10-team full PPR, BTJ or Shakir, Hawkinson or Kincaid. In a full PPR, I'll take Hawkinson and I will take BTJ. Thank you. Mr. 305 says in a full PPR, full point per reception, rolling the dice with BTJ, injury risk, or play it safe with JSN. I would take the risk, legitimately. I think the upside is so high with BTJ in that circumstance that I'm willing to take the risk. Obviously, let's see. You have the alternative. Well, look, here's the thing. Even if you play BTJ, there's no guarantee that he stays healthy for the full game. But again, I don't think they'd play him unless there was a chance of him being able to play the full thing. But again, you don't know. Like, I don't know the severity to the injury to where I can 100% tell you yes or no on whether or not he's going to play the full game. But yes, I would take the risk of playing him. As for your next question, pick 3 in a full point PPR: DJ Moore, JSN, BTJ, or Tyrone Tracy. Okay, yeah. So as of those available options, I'm going BTJ, DJ Moore, and Tyrone Tracy. As of that group, Mr. 305, thank you. Aiden Johnson says in a full PPR, Devontae Smith, Chuba Hubbard, or Chase Brown. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's Chase Brown number 1. Let me see where I have as my number 2 in a full PPR there. Wow, actually, you know what? Scratch that. In a full PPR, I have Devontae Smith higher than Chase Brown. Literally one spot ahead of him. I didn't even realize until I checked right now. Devontae Smith number 25, Chase Brown number 26, Chuba Hubbard number 33. So Devontae Smith is actually the highest ranked of the bunch in a full PPR. Apologies if I confused somebody in the past about that, but hopefully that answers it. Moving on. We had a question that was sent in from Lucky Sven. Okay, let's see here. Lucky Sven says in a full PPR, pick 1. Murray, Darnold. I'd rather play Darnold. Pittman or Madison. I'd rather play Pittman. Thank you. Herb W says start 2 in the flex. Myers, Ridley, Hopkins, and Hawkinson. I'd take Myers and Ridley there. Thank you. Sir Tatsy sends in a question. Says start Coleman or Cooper with Cooper out or DJ Moore. I'd rather play DJ Moore. Thank you. Let's see here. We took care of that. Gildan Warrior says, let's try this again, Andrew. Sorry, no, you're good, my man. That's my bad. I should have went looking for your question earlier. I just totally got sidetracked off that. Gildan says, half PPR, Andrew. In a dual flex QB league, we have Cousins. Wide receivers are Jefferson, Wilson, Sutton, Waddle. Running backs are Cooks, Dobbins, Stevenson, Robinson. Tight end is Pitts. Defense is the Jets. My question, should I make a trade since I heard Dobbins' schedule? Yeah, I mean, look, as of right now, considering Dobbins is your RB2, Robinson's going to come back. So if you're going to move Dobbins, sure, do it. But if you're going to trade him, you trade him for, try to go after James Conner if you can do so. That's who I would try to go after if potentially available, again, to do so. All right, continuing on. But yes, if you can move him, why not? I mean, I even talked about it earlier. Somebody asked me Tracy or Dobbins the rest of the season. I was like, I'd rather just take Tracy in a full PPR. All right, moving on to a question from C2 Joe. I almost said CS2. C Joe 2 says, half PPR, Mooney or Eckler? I'll take Eckler there in a half PPR. Thank you. Moving on to Peter Massey, who says, in a full PPR, Downs or Pollard? I'd rather just play Downs there. Nix or I almost said mix, like Mixon. Nix or Mayfield, I'll take Bo Nix. So Bo Nix and Downs are my suggestions. Seth sends in a question, says full PPR, Ladd or Shakir? I'll just take Shakir there. Herb W says Baker or Stafford this week? I prefer to play Stafford there in this circumstance. Rocky T says at the moment we'll still start Love over Mayfield. Yes, that's what I prefer. If you want to play Mayfield, I don't blame you because he's been on fire as of late. Boone sends in a question, says full PPR, start Dobbs or Coker. I'd rather play Dobbs as of right now, but if you want to play Coker, I don't have an issue with it. But as of right now, I have Dobbs ranked higher. CS Derek says, thanks for all the help, brother. No problem. Thank you. Okay. After CS Derek, is there anybody else? Yes, there's Josh who says full PPR, Puka or London. Let me see who I have ranked higher. Full PPR. Let's go to wide receiver. London is ahead of Puka in my full PPR rankings. London's my number 8 and Puka's my number 9. So that's the way that I go about it in terms of suggestion. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. Let's ban this person. Boom. Phil sends in a question. Thank you, Phil. Phil says, sit 1, Eckler or Ingram? What's your scoring format, Phil? That is very much so contingent Let me go look at my like full PPR rankings. Where do I have Ingram in terms of this? Okay. Let's see. Oh, you know what I need to do is like this. Ah, that's what it was. Okay, that's what it is. It's double pasted. Okay. So as of right now, I would play Ingram. I would play Trace. Gosh, I would play Austin Eckler over Ingram this week. Sorry, Phil. Jeez, regardless of scoring format, half or full PPR, I will take Eckler. Jeez. Phil Lawrence says standard league, pick up and flex Chestnut, Irving, or Dobbs. Out of that group, I'll just play Irving. Gibbs or Chase Brown? Gibbs. Again, rankings are right there. Richard Perez sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, flex Dobbins, Chase Brown, Flowers, Otten, or Reed. I'll take Chase Brown there very comfortably. Coker or Keenan Allen rest of season? I do not know the answer to as of right now. I'll just stick to answering week 9 questions. Andrew Scheidt, no, that's not answer that one either. Javonte or Ridley? I'd rather play Ridley there, Michael. Trey Tucker or Julius Chestnut? I'd rather just play Julius Chestnut this week. I have London, Chase Brown, and James Cook. That's a pretty good looking team there, man. Start them all. Natty for okay, we took care of that one. Phil says meant Zay. Okay, got it. Zay, Eckler, or Ingram. Got it. Let me see. But what's your scoring format, brother? You still didn't answer the primary. Okay. Let me see here. I would play Eckler over the bunch. Eckler would be the play over all of them. Still. Thank you. JCard429 says, in a 14-team full PPR, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, Myers, Waddle, Mooney, Coker. Yeah, as of that group, I'm playing Myers number 1, Mooney number 2, Waddle 3, and Coker 4. That's the direction I'd go in. But Myers and Mooney are the 1-2 combo. Abe says Flowers, Tyrone Tracy, Coleman, or Madison in the flexible PPR. I'm very comfortable rolling with Tyrone Tracy there. If not him, it goes to Flowers second. B Normie says full PPR, Montgomery, Myers, or Reed. B Normie, don't you have the rankings? Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure I have Myers ahead of Monty, right? Pretty sure. BTJ or Tracy in a half PPR flex. I have BTJ ranked higher. Still. But if you want to play Tracy, I don't have an issue with it. They're probably like 2 or 3 ranks separating. Mooney or Madison? I'd rather just play Madison there, especially if it's a half PPR. Eckler or Tillman? I'd rather just play Eckler there. Aiden. Worthy or Waddle? I'd rather just play Worthy there. Andrew, do you like Chase Brown over Kareem Hunt? Yes. Right there. Rankings. Boom. On screen. Boom. It filters. Andrew, would you trade Breece Hall for Kamara and Tracy? Yes. Half PPR start 2, bench 1, Lad, Myers, and Njoku. I'm benching Lad McConkey there, Yasin. Reno says, Andrew, would you trade Breece Hall? Yes, I would. Maddie says, full PPR, Puka over Hill or Cup or London. No. Actually over Cup, yes. I wouldn't play him over Hill or London, but I definitely play him over Cooper Cup there. Yep. Daniel Cap says, Pollard over Montgomery. Yeah, I'll take Pollard over Montgomery. Rashad White or Leggett. It depends on scoring. Well, you know what? Now that I think about it, let me look this up. Let me see where I have Leggett in a full PPR. I would play Rashad White ahead of him. Still. But that's full PPR. If it's a half PPR, I'd be pretty comfortable just rolling with Leggett there. But yeah, the upside that Rashad White gets in terms of just dump offs is just stupid. He just gets free points for nothing. Daniel Lundquist says, I dropped Mason instead of Broncos defense. Should I have dropped Reed for Hunt? No, you're fine. You're good. Jayville says, Pittman over Mooney 100%? Yes, 100%. I mean, I can't guarantee you that Mooney doesn't outscore him. Again, look, as of right now, like in terms of the rankings, Pittman sits at 19, Mooney sits at 24. Like, they're both going to play well. That's a given. But I just expect that Pittman will see a far greater target opportunity share within the offense in comparison. And in that overall situation with the matchup in itself, I love it. Andrew, 4-point per passing touchdown, Murray or Nix. I'd rather play Bo Nix as of right now. Again, the rankings are on screen. Rico or Bucky, I'd rather play Rico. Coker or Elijah Moore in the flex, I'd rather just play Coker there if it's a half PPR. Again, you guys aren't mentioning scoring format, so I'm just going to meet everyone in the middle. Reed or Pollard? Yeah, let's play Pollard there over Reed. All right. Well, that's pretty much going to cover it, guys. Ferguson or Leggett. I think I just play Ferguson there. Yoshivas, QJ, or Gesicki. BCP. I just play Gesicki there. All right. What I need to do really quickly before these games kick off and go firing away, I need to do something really, really, really quickly. Again, I want to thank you guys. It's 10 a.m. Kickoffs will, in about a couple seconds here, potentially kick off. I appreciate y'all coming through. Again, tomorrow we'll be back with waiver wire conversations regarding, the players that potentially emerged from today's overall production. But again, I appreciate y'all coming through. I appreciate the support. I'll be back tomorrow. Live streaming tomorrow night after the Monday Night Football game between the Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Best of luck. Let's hope for no injuries. And I'm going to go ahead and cue the double helix and send us on our way. Best of luck, everyone. And I'll see you guys when I see you. Cueing the music in 5, 4, 3, 2. I'll see you guys. Peace.